sim racing, one of the fastest growing esports in the world. A sport that awards hard work, dedication, and skill. A sport that will challenge you to always strive to get better, to never settle for anything other than first place. Race fans don't root for the scared or the timid. They root for the brave, the risk takers that will do whatever it takes to come out on top. The ones who will push the limits to succeed. Tonight, a new chapter begins. A fresh start where 40-plus drivers strive for one goal in a marquee event unlike any other. A break of tradition where we finish in the sunrise. 45 drivers take to the track. 45 drivers who have exemplified what it takes to make it to the top. These drivers that have outlasted their opponents, outsmarted the odds, and prepared once and for all who is the best of the best. Adam Cabot, coming off one of the best drives and wins of any season on MNR yet, to secure his first career championship, going into a season with expectations as high as the sky. Standing in his way, drivers looking to overcome defeat. The defeat of being on stage, but falling short of greatness. Names like Fern, Schildhaus, Vargas look to return to the big stage. But in a series where it's anyone's ball game, each driver hungry to enter the history books, where they are determined to make it happen this season, make this season their season. 45 drivers, one heart-pounding race, a chance to edge your name as a pioneer. The stage is set. A dogfight in Daytona. It's the Sunrise 500, presented by SimSeats. Welcome to Season 5.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Daytona International Speedway as at long last, Season 5 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries has arrived. It is a marquee event like no other, the Sunrise 500, set to get Season 5 of Monday Night Racing here started for you live from the World Center of Racing. So happy to have you joining us here tonight for the beginning of a brand new season. Blake McCandless, Kenneth Bueno, and Jacob Hitz will have the call for you here tonight. And Jacob, Kenneth, I know after we saw all the duels, the Alpha Prime Graphics duels at Daytona last week, the racing was great, and I know everybody just getting amped up as we continue to build up to the start of this Sunrise 500.
And those duels just 1 week ago, Blake, just offered us a good preview as to what we're going to see over this Sunrise 500 tonight. There's no doubt that Season 5 going into this season after the long hiatus from the Charlotte eSports Hub where Adam Cabot won Season 4 and hoisted the Bob Jenkins Trophy. The hype is intense, the anticipation is large, the anxiety is just as large as well, and we're ready for it. It's going to be so much fun to kick off from the World Center of Racing.
I think Kenneth makes a great point, Jacob, talking about all the build-up from that championship event. And we talked about it last week, but I think it's worth re-emphasizing that the stakes are higher, I think, this year than they've ever been before. There's more drivers, there's new drivers, there's a lot of old veterans, some drivers who came short of that championship last year, but I think after going through that championship event, this long off-season that's finally over, I think we're finally at a point now that the culmination is here and everybody's ready to get after it here at Daytona tonight.
I think you're absolutely right, Blake, and we did touch on it last week, the fact that there's just something about this season, after the way it ended a year ago, that just the build-up, the anticipation, the stage that we're on is so much higher than it was a season ago, back when the fourth season kicked off. After the finale that we had at the Charlotte eSports Hub, I feel like the stage is so much higher. 45 cars in the field, 3 wide, sometimes maybe even 4 wide around this racetrack. The margin for error is going to be about this big. You make one mistake, and that could ruin your shot to win the race. Not only that, but also ruin your shot to cement yourself into the playoffs. Remember, win and you're in. I think that's something that we kind of forget about. We push the playoffs off till we get about halfway through the season. Can't really do that because the playoffs are almost half the season. It's crunch time from the drop of the green flag tonight, and these guys are going to be very hungry to capture the flag here at Daytona.
Well, we saw how much it helped David Schildhaus, that role that was just playing before we went live, and Schildhaus being able to get that victory. He made it all the way to that Championship 4 off the heels of a win that started at Daytona to begin Season 4. So no doubt about it, these drivers hungry to get after it for Season 5 on the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. And as we continue to look, and especially when you talk about Daytona, Kenneth, I think one thing that has to come up are these super speedways and the drivers who, it's a different skill set when you come to a plate track like this, right? It's not exactly the front runners that we often see that will dominate other types of racetracks. Daytona is an opportunity track, and it can be an opportunity for everybody to try and get up and have some new names at the front.
It definitely is. It's wide open game, and that's some of the magic of what this MNR series is all about. We go to so many different tracks, so many different cars, and so many different disciplines that you got to single them out each one by one and figure out who's the best of the best. And Daytona, Talladega, the big super speedways are, of course, no exception to the rule. We've seen a lot of drivers pose great finishes, great stats at these super speedways. Justin Malillo being one of them, despite not having a win at these big tracks. Matt Stolnick, who, by the way, came across that start-finish line at Daytona in Season 4, 4 wide for his first ever win at this track in that combo. David Schildhaus, of course, being one of the best winning last season. So there's a lot of drivers that have the skill to be very good at these very large tracks that you need to manipulate the draft, you need to pick and choose your partners, and of course position yourself for that very last view of the start-finish line out of Turn 4 for the win.
Well, and Jacob, I think we don't just have the eye test. So I think it's easy to tell drivers like Justin Malillo who have that better understanding of super speedway racing and tend to find themselves in the right position to the end. But not only do we have that this year, just the eye test, we have actual data. We have the stats. We have the drivers' ratings when it comes to these plate tracks, and I think the proof is in the pudding, Jacob, when you look at these driver ratings that we get to see here for Daytona.
Well, and those driver ratings you're going to see throughout the season, throughout these different racetracks. They'll adjust as the season goes on. They're not just fixed at one thing. They can adjust throughout the season. Justin Malillo put a lot of work into gathering all of the stats from all of the races, from all of the seasons, putting them together, coming up with the formula for these rankings. And go figure, the first track we go to, Super Speedway, he leads the pack. As far as those ratings are concerned. You can understand why when you look at the numbers, but I feel like it's awfully convenient when the guy that put everything together just happens to find himself up at the top of the board for this first race of the season. Maybe the luck will be on his side because I know he's finished at second place a lot, not only in MNR, but here at the high banks of Daytona.
A lot of seconds for not only him, but a lot of drivers here in this Monday Night Racing Series. And speaking of a driver that came up a little bit short last year in that Championship 4, and somebody that I think if you talk to many of the drivers and even some of us amongst the broadcast crew here, is a favorite to be the champion here in Season 5, and that is Colin Fern. And lucky enough, we were able to have Devin Henry, a member of our broadcast team and a driver in the field tonight, catch up and have a few words with Colin Fern. Let's take a look.
A Championship 4 competitor 1 year ago, Colin Fern. I won't bring up what happened in the Championship 4 race.
Trouble there. It's like Colin Fern might have been one of them as everybody scatters, and before we even get a lap done.
You're driving the number 86 machine for Brandonville Motorsports, and besides that, I mean, what do you actually do for Brandonville? What exactly are you doing every day at the shop?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of everything. We got a lot of parts running to do, so I'll do all the parts running. I am not mechanically inclined, so I do not do any of the on-hand stuff. Parts manager, I do all of our rosters, all of our conicals, do a lot of stuff with the budget and everything, make sure we don't go broke. Small team, everybody wears multiple hats, and just got to do what we got to do to get to the racetrack every week. I actually met Brandon at Coastal Carolina the second semester I was there, and I started helping them out part-time. And then the fourth race of the year, his dad told me to call him when I got to the racetrack, and he said, I'm buying you a license, so you have to come to all the races now. So that's just how it started, and I've been with him since.
So how did you make your way into the racing industry, and where exactly did your love for racing come from that brought you to where you are now?
So I started going to races at Shangri-La Speedway up in New York, Tioga, New York, watching open wheel modifieds, and that's where the love started. And I feel like a lot of people from the Northeast, it's the modifieds, the ground pounders that we all fall in love with. Other than that, it's just my grandma. She was a big Joe Nemechek fan, and she got me into racing. And my first ever race was the Watkins Glen race for Steve Park 1. I've run some 4-cylinders on dirt up in New York, and then I have run a late model truck and a limited late model at Hickory, Dillon, and Caraway. And I had only one opportunity to win, and I choked it away, but it was only my third ever start, so I'll chalk that up to inexperience.
What makes Colin Fern? What do you like to do, and exactly how good is the golf game?
The golf game is very, very inconsistent. But no, the golfing is fun. I've really gotten back into it this year. I enjoy fishing, love going fishing. It's just relaxing. Other than that, finding anywhere I can to find a local watering hole and enjoy a few beverages.
So what exactly is your goal? Where you sit right now, you're still young, but what is your ultimate goal right now in the racing industry?
Yeah, I'd love to win the Powerball, Friday and be running full-time Xfinity for the next 20 years. But realistically, I'm not sure. I want to see where this goes with Brandon. I think he's a really talented race car driver. Well, I've learned a lot from Doug Randolph when it comes to the competition side of a race team. And, I wouldn't mind pursuing that in some faction.
So who are some of your favorite people to compete against in Monday Night Racing?
Honestly, probably number one is David Schildhouse, because we push each other to be better, and I feel like we are the two best in the league. No disrespect to anybody else, but we run the smartest races, and we're some of the fastest guys week in and week out, and I really enjoy running against David, even though we talk a lot of crap to each other like we did at softball last night.
Well, of course, we appreciate Colin Fern taking the time out to talk with our very own Devin Henry. And Kenneth, I love that behind the scenes of Colin Fern right there, kind of getting to know a little bit of what he's about, which, by the way, great move there, getting interviewed on a golf course. I think that's a pretty nice backdrop to get interviewed from. I know Colin Fern, a very active golfer. But cool to hear the story of him and Brandon growing up as shot to clears at Coastal Carolina University, and how that's kind of led Colin to where he is today, working for Brandon Built Motorsports.
Yeah, it's just super cool to see the details of his involvement in such a small Xfinity Series team that went to victory lane last season at Talladega. But, I mean, you look at the background there, golf course is the definition of relaxation and chill, but he is definitely the opposite of that on the racetrack. One of the most aggressive drivers in this series, and it's led him to a lot of success. And by the way, I mean, we've talked to him now, at least to open this season, like he's a full-on veteran. This is really his first full-time effort apart from last season, his second full-time effort in this M&R Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. So he hasn't been around this series for too long, but he's certainly making a statement in the series. Good to see all the info from him, and good to see all the things that he's been about. Hopefully we can see a lot more when we get further in this season 2022.
Well, Jacob, I think one thing that started that interview, you could see that contact with Shane Van Gisbergen. By the way, worth mentioning, both drivers will be in the race tonight, so in case you want to tune into that, that may also be happening as well, but just came so close last year to that championship, and I wonder if that's kind of fueled the fire, because in the Alpha Graphics duels at Daytona last week, he got right after it. I think here in Season 5, we know Colin Fern is not messing around.
I think he knows after last season he didn't run the entire season. As Kenneth mentioned, this is really his first big opportunity that he has to run all the races. And I think you're right. The duels last week, that was sort of something to bring the confidence back. And I think that did in a really big way, out in front for a lot of it, winning that first race. And you're right, the notorious SVG, he's in the race tonight, Shane Van Gisbergen. I wouldn't expect any contact between those two. But you never know for sure. It kind of like Anthony Alfredo and Raja Karuth, you don't expect them to go at it sometimes, but then they do, and we all get a front row seat to see it. I'm just saying there's a possibility, and if the score doesn't get settled tonight, need I remind you, Martinsville next week. It'll happen there next week, no doubt about it.
Oh, for sure. And that is one thing about these drivers, that as much as they try to avoid each other, it's kind of like the issue in real life. You know, if you have an issue with a driver, there's about a 10 out of 10 chance that you're going to be in the same truck as them going around the racetrack at driver intros the next week. So it's just one of those things. They always seem to circle back around. And by the way, let's circle back around with Colin Fern, who is going to join us here for a quick word. And Colin, we saw what you were able to do in the duels last week. What is your approach heading into the Season 5 opener tonight?
Win. That's about the only goal. Get out front, lead every lap, block my butt off, and see if we can't stay in the lead the entire race, which is going to be difficult to do. But even if we lose a little track position, utilize my spotter John and do everything we can to stay out front, because that's generally where the winner comes from.
Well, and Colin, looking at your stats over this last season, which, by the way, shout out to our production crew. Those are some interesting and wonderful stats here. You can look and see for yourself. You're a driver that likes to run up front. You love to control a race, and I think, obviously, by what you just said, it's no different right now. Is there anything that, I guess, winning tonight, how much would it help you going in through the rest of Season 5 if you were able to capture that victory tonight?
Oh, it would help tremendously. I mean, obviously, there's so many talented drivers in the series, and the track car combinations we have make it so it makes the winning group so much bigger. You know, Mazda's at Martinsville next week. You know, anybody can win that race. You could be leading and get wrecked out 5 times over. So there's a lot of chances for a lot of guys to win, and I'm not guaranteeing that pointing your way in is going to be even possible. So I think there's going to be a lot of different winners this year. I just want to be the first to the pay window.
All right. Well, somebody who we heard wears a lot of hats in the real world, and one of the hats he wears is a Monday Night Racing driver, Pro Series driver, is trying to go to victory lane tonight. Colin, we'll let you go out and get your last couple of minutes of practice in before we fire up the engines and get going here for the Sunrise 500. But thanks for joining us, and looking forward to what you're able to do on the racetrack.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Hope you all have fun watching this number 86 be as fast as Xfinity X5 Internet.
All right, there we go. Colin Fern looking to try and get it done, and Kenneth and Jacob, I think that says it all. It's not enough to just be out here tonight. It's not even enough to lead lap 125. He's going to try to be out front and lead every single lap tonight. I think Colin Fern is a man on a mission here to start Season 5.
Yeah, he definitely is, and especially with the little segment there with Devin Henry, and even our final thoughts after that with you and Jacob talking about it. The little contact with Shane Van Gisbergen set him off on a hitch at Auto Club, and then was close actually to the championship before overshooting his pit stall. No doubt he's got a lot of fire in that belly. He's got pretty much a redemption tour on his hands. So we'll see if he can do that. And he showed us a great deal of what he can do to lead out front in the duels. He commanded the field, was very aggressive up at the front, was not afraid to show what he wanted to do. So I figure here from the pole in this Sunrise 500, he's going to do the same, stay to status quo like he's always been, and be the same old Colin Fern we've gotten to know.
No doubt about it, Kenneth. Well, why don't we go ahead and take a look? There is a lot to look forward to tonight, being the season opener for Season 5 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series, presented by Interstate Batteries. As you look right there, our 2022 summer schedule, Jacob. And it starts tonight at Daytona, but one of the things I love about Monday Night Racing is that we're not just racing on one type of track. We're not racing with one type of car. We go all over the place to suit all these different driving skills. So a lot of different places to look forward to. And if you have a score to settle after Daytona, well, guess what? You're running a Mazda at Martinsville, so what better place to go to next week?
The first 4 weeks of the schedule, all of May up through Memorial Day, 4 completely different racetracks. Daytona with the next gens. A week from tonight, Martinsville with the Mazda MX-5 Miatas. That's going to be so fun next week. Then we go to Watkins Glen with the Pro 2 trucks. And that's another classic for MNR, something that has really had a lot of great racing over these last couple of years. And then, well, we did this for the All-Star race before. It's on the schedule as a points-paying race this time around. The Radicals at Texas Motor Speedway, which in a sense is really a plate race, but a lot different. That's going to be so much fun, off for Memorial Day. And then we come back with even more crazy stuff. We go on dirt for one lone time this season. iRacing Super Speedway, another plate track in there, something that we don't see very often, taking the next gens out there. Bristol with the Super Lates, that's going to be a lot of fun. We kind of get a little traditional then. Xfinity race cars at Charlotte, the B cars at Charlotte, have another week off for July 4th. Michigan trucks, again, pretty self-explanatory. And then we hit the playoffs. Daytona Road Course with the Miatas, Xfinity cars at Old Texas. Round of 13 for the playoffs. So we start with 13 drivers in. Then Vegas in the trucks, and what might be the best option. ARCA at old bumpy Daytona on August 8th. That is going to be so fun as a cutoff race. Oh my gosh, guys. Like, we couldn't ask for anything better. But the season's not done. We still got 3 more races. IndyCar at Auto Club, that's always an incredible time. The next gens at New Atlanta. And then the championship race, August 29th. Homestead, Miami with the trucks. I'm sorry, but this might be the best schedule that we've had in the 5 seasons that we've done for MNR. I'd love to hear somebody disagree, because by the time this season is over, I don't think anybody's going to be disagreeing.
You know, when I look at the first couple races, and it's literally cuckoo mode, I think. 2 of them are all-star combos from last season, candidates in the all-star category. So, my goodness, if you got something on your hands to make the playoffs, those races certainly describe it perfectly. It's insane.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of diversity in the schedule here in 2022. And it's not just diversity in the schedule. It is a whole host of drivers that are out on the racetrack ready to compete for you tonight. You have your host of Monday Night Racing favorites, drivers like Adam Cabot, who won the championship in Season 4, competing tonight. Newcomers, George Ballfans Jr., who's not new to Monday Night Racing, but not a full-time driver last year, a tire changer for Alpha Prime. And guys, I think looking at this list as these drivers are kind of getting their practice laps in now, we have a lot of drivers coming out. I believe it's going to be a 46-car grid, and you got just about anybody out here you could think of. Connor Daly, he was leading laps in the Indianapolis 500 last year. He's going to be racing with us tonight. Bernard Pollard Jr., you see all the posts on social media that he does and his enthusiasm for sim racing and for iRacing. He's out here. Brad Perez made his first Truck Series start. He's out here tonight. How about even and this was just announced a couple of moments before we went live, Dale Earnhardt Jr. will be competing tonight here at the Daytona International Speedway. So I don't think you could look anywhere for a more diverse and competitive list of sim racers, drivers, riders, reporters, you name them. They're here tonight in MNR.
Yeah, you don't see that in any other league. You don't see the different combos be used as diverse, and then you don't see the field be as diverse anywhere else as MNR. The amount of skill in these fields is insane, and it continues to grow every season. We continue to get new drivers and new people that start to immediately shine and glimmer. Like, you talk about the Road to Glory guys that are in here, Nick Olson, George Ballfans. You think about a Presley Sora, the guys that came in, the guys that are more low-key, and then the big names, Dale Jr., you think of Connor Daly, you think of so many others that are in this field. It's just amazing to see, and it's just a big culmination of motorsports into an esports, a growing esports scene. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see all of them come together for this 500-kilometer race, as I should say.
Well, it certainly will. A new type of racetrack here, and at least a new type of event, being the Sunrise 500. But like it was put in marketing, it is a marquee event like no other, and it is certainly going to live up to the bill tonight. But we will take a quick break before we get going. But when we will come back, we'll get you all fired up and things set and ready to go for tonight's Sunrise 500 presented by Sim Seats. We are ready to go here in just a moment. We'll be right back from the Daytona International Speedway.
This is an Interstate battery. More pros trust this than any other out there. Yeah, more pros. More. Even more pros. Keep going. Moss. Look, we're going to run out of time before we run out of pros who like Interstate. I mean, we'll run out of time before we even run out of left-handed pros who knit. These pros are everywhere, which means so is this battery. Right around the corner, up the street, everywhere. Interstate Batteries, outrageously dependable.
Here's a look at the contact between Anthony Alfredo and Raja Caruth. They just got into each other.
Honestly, I think the biggest thing is Raj and I are probably two of the most competitive drivers in the series, so we're always at the front, and that's usually where things go wrong.
Well, it's not just Anthony, it's like Garrett and, well, the ones, yeah, exactly. So I guess the run-ins with Anthony, like...
He raced his way in. Doesn't seem like Anthony Alfredo was too happy about it, though, Kenneth.
Alfredo made the charge. He tried.
Are you kidding me, dude?
I think I got wrecked out of the lead, but probably 3 times at least last season, and we just race each other hard, and it usually doesn't end well for me.
It's nothing by design. Like, I'm not a like a dirty driver. I don't intend to go out and cause harm. I intend to make incitement and race hard for the win. And you know, Anthony is like one of the faster guys in the league, so naturally, when I'm up front, he's gonna be there.
But I think it's fun to be up front in contention, but hopefully we can just have a clean battle to the end at some point this year.
You know, so things happen, as Kevin Harvick says. Things happen.
Glad that you're back with us here from the Daytona International Speedway for the season opener of Season 5 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. It is the first running of the Sunrise 500 presented by Sim Seats, and it'll be Blake McCandless, Kenneth Bueno, and Jacob Hitz on the call with you tonight. Of course, Ryan Bauer, our producer, and cameras provided for tonight by Dougie Beard. And as we get hyped up, guys, I was looking through some of those promos, and I gotta say, it does a good job at hyping us up. I'm ready to get going here in just a couple of minutes.
I love that clip of Ford Martin just shooting the fist out and yelling like if he's Giannis in the paint after slam dunking on somebody. But I mean, yeah, the hype is immense. I mean, I talked about it at the top of the show, and just all the build up from last season, how exciting it was to go to the Carolina Esports Hub, crown a champion there, really a first time for iRacing Esports in a very long while. And so to do it like that, to bring it all back here for Season 5, I don't know about y'all, I'm going crazy.
I'm ready to get going, Kenneth and Jacob. Certainly, I know we've all been looking forward to this, and it's nice that after several long months that it has finally arrived. Well, why don't we go ahead and get started with our pre-race ceremonies tonight, which, of course, will welcome in the invocation tonight. It is Daryl Waltrip who will provide tonight's invocation.
Won't you join me in prayer as we pray for this evening's event?
Our Heavenly Father, Lord Jesus, we just come to you, Lord. We know you love us, and we love you, Lord. We know that you're the great provider. We know you're the great protector. I just ask that you be with each driver as they race tonight. May they race hard, Lord, but may they race fair. And may this be an exciting event, and bless every man, woman, everybody that's involved with this event tonight. I ask you to bless them in a special way. We know you love us. We know you protect us. We know you take care of us. And Lord, for that, we're grateful. So I just pray for your blessings on this event, and that this will be an exciting event, and that those that don't know you, Lord, they may draw closer to you tonight. And we pray all these things in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would ask that reverently you listen to the playing of our national anthem being performed tonight by Giancarlo Canella.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land and of the free and the home of
And thank you, Giancarlo Canella. That was a beautiful rendition of our national anthem just before we get set to fire the engines tonight, which will happen in just a couple of moments. Jacob, Kenneth, let's go ahead and look at, of course, where we'll be racing tonight. You've seen the B-roll rolling all night, but I don't think you could talk about it enough. The Daytona International Speedway, this is, Kenneth, this is the layout for it.
Definitely is. It's a hallowed ground of stock cars super speedway racing. When you think NASCAR season opener, you think Daytona. The World Center Racing. It's 2.5 miles long, 4.023 kilometers around this very large tri-oval super speedway. It was opened back in 1959. It has history dating all the way back to that in NASCAR Cup Series and even lower NASCAR Series competition. So it's had its fair share of fantastic moments, photo finishes, great passes, big crashes, you name it. It's 31 degrees of banking in turns 1 through 4. We'll have 18 degrees on that main tri-oval to the start-finish line, where Barney the Flagman will be at waving our flags tonight, and 2 degrees on the back straightaway. Blake, this is a beautiful scenic track in Daytona Beach, Florida, one of the best racing venues in all of the United States. So no doubt, of course, it's the best place to start a stock car season like the Seminar Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries.
Well, Jacob, we have a little bit of a different approach tonight as we take a look at our race analysis.
Yeah, it's a little bit different than from what we're used to, and even from what we saw a week ago. 125 laps up on the big board, 312.5 miles as far as the mileage, just over 500 kilometers, that's what we're going with, hence the Sunrise 500. One faster pair, 3 green-white checkers for these guys if we use them. Only 3 sets of tires in the pits, so not a ton of fresh rubber down on pit road, Be interesting for us to see how that plays into strategy. Again, 125 laps, only 3 sets of tires in the pits, and the fuel capacity, well, it's only 80%. So you're not able to fill it completely on fuel. That's also going to impact when these guys decide to make pit stops. Under green, under caution, how far they can stretch it. It's not normal. It's not 100%. You got that 80% cap. Going to be tough for some of these guys to adjust and get used to.
So a lot of variables coming into play tonight, Jacob. Of that, there is no doubt. Well, folks, cars are starting to line up on the grid, and we're going to go ahead and send it trackside to Bozy Tatarevic as he's going to get us started with the most famous words in motorsports.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Bozy Tatarevic, and I'm honored to be your Grand Marshal for tonight's Sunrise 500 presented by SimSeeds. And now, without further delay, drivers, start your engines!
Engines are getting fired here at the virtual Daytona International Speedway, and let's go ahead and take a look at the starting grid, of which was decided last week in the Alpha Graphics duels at Daytona. Colin Fern and Presley Sora will start on the front row, again courtesy of their wins in the Alpha Graphics duels at Daytona last week. Will Rogers will start on the inside of row number 2, alongside he will be the number 60 of Brad Perez. Young Motorsports' own Anthony Alfredo will start on the inside of row number 3, and eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver Matt Busa going to make a temporary start. He'll only be out here at Daytona. He will start in the 6th position. Gary Sexton of Podium eSports will start in the 7th position. To his outside will be the number 75 of Parker Kligerman of NASCAR on NBC. 46 of Stephen Ellis will start in 9th, and Leighton Sabile, Petty GMS Racing. Kenneth will round out your top 10.
MRN NBC sports reporter Dylan Welch will start the 14 car in P11. Charlie Brown, one of the entrants from the M&R Road to Glory season one season ago, he's in P12. George Boffens Jr. did rather well in his duels. He starts 13th in the 94. Landon Huffman, super late model driver, will start on the outside of row number 7 in P14. NHRA driver Ron Capps in the 28 lines of the top 15 for Crypto Autosport. He'll be joined by his teammate, the 41 of Matt Stallneck. Stallneck, a previous winner in the season opener at Daytona International Speedway. IndyCar driver for Ed Carpenter Racing, Connor Daly, will line up the 47 car in 17th. Nick Olson, one of the drivers from the Road to Glory season last season, he's in 18th. DJ Cummings and Brian Borscook, the 10 and the 63. Jacob hits the final drivers in the top 20.
Your former champion, Robbie Lyons, lines up in the 21st positions. Of course, Lyon, he won the Season 3 championship. James Bickford lines up alongside. Max Kennan, he was fighting for a championship a season ago. He lines up P23 with Bailey Turner to the outside. Case Kallenbach, crew chief for Ryan Vargas, lines up in 26. Malik Ray, another driver, making a one-and-done sort of start. He lines up in the 26th position. Steve Affont lines up in 27th. And it's Xfinity Series driver Ryan Vargas, one of the Championship 4 drivers from a season ago, in 28th. Mark Rebellis in 29th. Dakota Curtis rounding out our row 15. Blake?
As we look further back on the grid, it'll be Ford Martin of Fox Sports who will start in 31st. And this is a driver we'll have to watch for. Justin Malillo, one of the best on the plate tracks to kick off Season 5. He will start in 32nd. Your Season 5 champion, Adam Cabot, will start all the way at the back of the grid in 33rd, with David Schildhouse to his outside in 34th. 35th, they'll go to Ruben Garcia, and TJ Majors making an appearance here with spotting in Dover tonight. Already made the flight back, and he is here to start in 36th position. He came from the LCQ last week. Mike Clay of ESPN, you can remember him covering some NFL football. He'll start in 37th next to Brett Baldeck of Fox in Charlotte in 38th. 39th will be Preston Pardis, who will make his way out for Space Station Gaming. And rounding out your top 40, Kenneth, man that needs no introduction, Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Of course, Dale Earnhardt Jr. with massive amounts of success at the World Center of Racing. Here are the final 5 drivers in this 45-car grid. Gabe Wood for JD Motor Esports. He'll be in the 50 car in 41st, followed by Bernard Pollard Jr. in the 31 on the outside of row 21. Brandon Brown for Lockdown Racing. He'll have his number 12 machine, his Toyota Camry, in 43rd, with Shane Van Gisbergen, the Supercars driver, in 44th. Final driver in this 45-car field will be the 13 of Raja Karuth. He faced a penalty in one of the Alpha Graphics duels at Daytona last week, hence why he's at the rear shotgun of this 45-car field.
And that is your 45-car starting lineup tonight for the Sunrise 500 presented by SimSeats. And our in-race reporter tonight is going to be somebody who is stopping by. Not going to make every start this season, but Malik Gray, one of the best in the business to do it here on iRacing, going to roll off from the 26th position. And I got to ask you, Malik, what's the plan here starting in this race and being able to run at Daytona? What's the plan here tonight?
I'm going straight to the back immediately off turn 2, and I will not show my face until after lap 100.
Well, I got to ask you, Malik, that's not the Malik Gray I'm accustomed to. So are you trying to pull one over on us, or do you just this a little bit different than what you're used to?
It's the second one. It's the second one. Yeah. I'm just not used to having to race everyone in here, so I'm not sure how everyone drives, so I'd rather just be safe than sorry.
All right, well, it is a long race, 125 lapper tonight. We'll tune in with you from time to time. Thanks for being our in-race reporter tonight. And, of course, good luck.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
All right, so Malik Gray, guys, rolling off as the cars are starting to just now move off of the grid. Jacob, Kenneth, that is not what I expected Malik Gray to say. We know Malik as one of the best in the business on these plate tracks, can go up and battle with the likes of anybody, and loves to run up front, loves to be aggressive. We saw that in the duels last week, but I got to say, that is the last thing I expected him to say, to where I almost don't even believe it. I think he may be trying to pull one over on us.
Yeah, I think all 3 of us are in agreement here that is not Malik Gray. I feel like he is probably pulling something on us. He says he's going to drop back, but maybe he's just going to sew his hand and later in, like he says. I mean, who knows? And also crazy to see on the stat sheet, because he hasn't ran M&R races, he doesn't have a super speedway racing rating, Jacob, despite being one of the best plate racers in all of the sim.
You got to wonder how that works out, right? Well, if there are no stats, you can't really plug it into the formula. It's not going to spit anything out. But, yeah, all 3 of us are in agreement. Malik Gray is full of it. He's going to be up at the front, in the thick of things, probably 20 to 30 laps in the run. I'll give him a little bit of wiggle room since he's starting in the middle of the field. It's not going to take him long. Number 7, out in front. Book it.
Absolutely. So we'll take a look at the weather. A little bit of a different weather here than most drivers are used to. And again, this is why it's called the Sunrise 500. You could see low, obviously the low light that is taking place here at Daytona, and that sun, rather than seeing it set like we often do at this racetrack behind the front straightaway grandstands, it is going to rise up the back straightaway, almost blocking the vision of our drivers as they head into turn number 3. If you've run the 24 hours of Daytona, you kind of know what to expect. But again, this is why this is an event like no other. The Sunrise 500 presented by SimSeats, going to come with the sun rising, the track continuing to heat up as the race goes on rather than cool down. And Jacob, we covered it once, we'll cover it once again. A little bit of a different race here to start this season 5 as we take a look at our race analysis.
That's exactly right. So, well, this is something different. My sheet lied to me. It's not 3 sets of tires, it's unlimited sets of tires. You can come down and pick the tires as many times as you want. You can do it every lap if you want to. But the key thing that hasn't changed, though, is the fuel load. 80% fuel capacity. You're not getting 100% of the fuel into the race car when you need to pit. So, what that means is that changes up the strategy a little bit. That means the fuel cells are smaller a little bit. That also means that they can't make it as far. A little more pit stops, a little more strategy out of these guys, which is the key. Oh, and by the way, you win the race, you get $400. Not too bad after 125 laps here at Daytona.
And you can be certain, I remember in Thursday Night Thunder for this series, these drivers were willing to put it all on the line to get the money. Shouldn't be any different tonight at a race where anybody can end up in victory lane. And by that, I mean anybody, any one of these 45 drivers. I think you can make a good case that at the end of 125 laps, or perhaps more tonight, they will end up in victory lane. Months of waiting. And guess what? That wait is finally over. Is pace car going to pull to the safety of pit road? Colin Fern has control of the field as Season 5 of Monday Night Racing, presented by Interstate Batteries, is green. We are racing here at Daytona. And as they come around to complete lap number 1 here in Season 5, Colin Fern will be the first driver in Season 5 to lead him. He's got Fern, Rogers, and Story, your top 3 as they work into Turn 1.
And just like the duels, Blake McCandless, we're seeing everybody tucked to the top of the 31 degrees of banking. This time, though, second place starter Presley Sora fell back behind the 55 of Will Rogers, so he'll stay tucked single file. It's Anthony Alfredo leading the inside line for now.
And you've got 2 distinct packs, Kenneth, right now. You've got this lead pack that's made up of 23 cars. Steve Affont is leading this second pack around. They're about a second behind, just trying to leave plenty of room as the leaders come rocketing off corner number 4.
You see those 2 packs starting to form, 2 drivers off the pack already. Connor Daly started in the pit lane, and Matt Stolnick creeping around. He'll finally get on the back straightaway right now off of turn number 2. But up front, 2 wide, Fern, Rogers, Sora, again, your top 3.
And it looks like in the opening laps of the race, this is where you want to be, in a single file line, logging laps. You don't want to do anything crazy, don't want to extend your hand out too much because you could end up in a big wreck before this thing is all said and done. So what you want to do, stay calm. It's exactly what the field is doing. Still too wide on the back straightaway.
You do not want to be the one, you're right, Kenneth, to cause an accident early on here at Daytona. Yes, you have a faster pair, but you do not want to use it in this first half of the race if you don't want to. Presley Sora drops to the inside line. He'll be side-by-side for second off the corner.
And a good challenge for the race lead going on. Presley Sora leading that inside line. He's gotten help from Matt Busa, who has jumped down with him, forming a little bit of a 2-car tandem. So some sim racers trying to go after the real-life guys on the top side. Fern will lead him into 1, but Sora mounting a charge.
And this is going to be the name of the game all evening long, where drivers start to pack in on numbers on the outside, inside, or even the very middle. When you have numbers with you, you are going to succeed. So adding Busa and Sora is helping the charge here to get to Will Rogers.
Here they come down the back straightaway, and that 98 is charging side by side with Busa and Will Rogers. Presley Sora doing everything he can. He's dead even with Colin Fern. He might have the advantage off the corner.
Well, and Fern will go down to side draft, try to pull that top side that is now found Brad Perez and Parker Kligerman, now that 4th car in line. Remember how well of a shover he was at Daytona in the Camping World Truck Series, so perhaps that outside line starting to find the drivers that it needs as they work into 1.
And among the drivers up at the front already, Blake and Jacob, are many of the drivers who were very aggressive in the Alpha Graphics duel at Daytona. Alfredo, Fern, Rogers, Perez, Kligerman, all of those guys were very upfront about their strategies in the duels. Same thing right here, still side by side for the lead.
Down the back straightaway, still side by side, as Kenneth mentioned. And you got to wonder, for those that are pushing really aggressively, like Busa and Will Rogers, when could we start to see the engine temps get a little too hot and start pushing water? Still side by side for the lead.
Side by side for the lead, but I'll direct our attention for just a moment back to that second pack. Look who is leading it already up from the 40th starting position. Dale Earnhardt Jr., who looked to have some help, but will find none as Raja Karuth and Malik Ray will go on by. This is about 5 seconds behind your leaders.
And also to note, guys, Raja Karuth started 45th in this field, and he's already up to 24th. Already the biggest charger here in this Sunrise 500 to start in the opening 6 laps. What a dramatic jump it's been from him so far, as Malik Ray leads him back to the super stretch.
Yeah, he's going to follow Malik Ray and try and get themselves up to the front. Their teammates, they want to work together as much as possible. Meanwhile, still no real battle up front. Fern still leads the high side off 4.
Fern still leading that top side as they'll work into the tri-oval here to complete lap number 6. 7 will go up on the board. They have all been led by the driver, that 86 Xfinity machine. Colin Fern leads them into turn 1.
It's just a strategy playing out right for the 86, holding his place out front, commanding the pace of the field. That's what you want to do if you're out front. You want to set the tone and set the rhythm because you don't want anybody to take you out of your mojo. So Fern already doing what his plan was since the drop of the green. Hold control and he'll be fine.
Parker Kligerman starting to peek out of line a little bit. Brad Perez right in front of him. Leighton Sabile in that 5th spot on the outside in that 43, but so far it's a 3-car breakaway now up at the front.
3 cars, it's looking and threatening to be 4 cars as that top line has some great organization to it as they'll come across the stripe this time. Fern, Rogers, Perez, and now Parker Kligerman, that 4th car that is going to be clear of that battle for 5th.
We'll keep our eyes peeled if that 75 Food Country USA Camaro ends up diving down low, but he won't do so in turn 1. Sora will have the nose to the quarter panel of the Chevrolet Camaro, and it's still the outside lane manning the charge out of turn 2. Fern holding strong on the top. Wesley Sora trying to do something down low.
Looking back at that second pack, man, they're losing a ton of time. They've lost more than 7 seconds so far. I think they lost just 3 seconds in a lap. At least that's what it seems like. This lead pack, even though they're too wide, they are scooting away off 4.
They are scooting away, and looking back at the lead for this second pack, Raja Caruth, TJ Majors, Malik Ray, now your top 3 in that pack. They haven't exactly stayed in line. You can see up front, nobody really jumping out of line, but if you look at this second pack, they've organized just now, but they have been swapping the lead of this second pack back and forth. They haven't really decided who they want to lead the charge.
And now they're going to continue to break apart because Malik Ray just tucked the nose underneath TJ Majors. Majors will slide back, and you'll have to hope that Steve Alfont can get to the back bumper in enough time to get him back in the game. This is only going to hurt them more in the long run if they continue to spread out like that because they will lose time. Single file is where you want to be if you're the second pack.
Yeah, it's not a big help for those in that second pack to catch up to this lead pack for the time being. But you still got a long way to go, and I think that's what some of these guys are keeping in mind back here. Just keep them clean to the end and then show them what you got.
I think that's the plan for sure, but again, this was a pack that at once was about 4.5 seconds behind your lead pack right here. They are now 7 seconds as the lead pack storming through 1. They lost another 7/10 to these leaders.
And look at Parker Kligerman already going down low, and he's immediately going to challenge door-to-door for the race lead. A big shove from the Petty GMS 43 of Leighton Sabile. Parker Kligerman to the race lead.
They are almost wadding them up down the back straightaway. Landon Huffman got underneath the 58 of Charlie Brown, and Charlie Brown lost half a dozen spots, maybe more. 3 wide up against the outside wall. It's Kligerman off 4.
Well, and it's going to get dicey here for a second as Parker Kligerman looking to lead lap number 1. A driver who wants to compete for the championship this season may have a good shot to do it as he'll actually lose that lead to Leighton Sabile. There's lap traffic on the inside. That's Connor Daly.
Connor Daly may have to duck out of line. We'll see what the front pack does. And now here comes Matt Busa, eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver for Motorsports. Gonna head to the outside. Sabile tries to block to no avail. Matt Busa to the race lead.
Here comes Busa on the outside. Sabile has little to no help down on the bottom. The inside line is stacking up and almost wadding him up. A great save by, that's not Nick Olson, George Belfont Jr. He got squirrely trying to get around Connor Daly. They all make it. The inside line is gone.
It was really blown up by that lap car who was able to merge into the pack, but Daly going to cause that to get a little jumbled up. But up front, Matt Busa has taken the race lead. Parker Kligerman not going to duck out of line to look for it just yet.
To your point, Jacob Hitz, that exactly broke up the inside lane. They are pretty much a walking corpse on the inside lane. It's only 3 cars strong. Sabile, Gary Sexton, and Steven Ellis in the 46. Maybe they can gather more patrons down low, but it's going to take them a long time to get back in the game here.
Certainly is. I noticed on Case Kallenbach's machine, he's got front-end damage, I think, from the stack-up of just trying to get around Connor Daly and sort things out. Gary Sexton is making things 3 wide in the middle of the pack. That's going to push Leighton Sabile out of the deck. He tries to get in line, but there's no room.
Oh, and they scatter off of turn number 4 as they'll work it towards the stripe. It got a little hairy back there for about the 15th position. I think I saw Case Collenbach perhaps get into the wall, get a little squirrely, but up front, it's single file through your top 10.
And you're going to see this a lot, guys, throughout the Sunrise 500. With these super speedway races, you have to have your adjustment at 150%. So if a line starts to fall off, if somebody makes a certain move, you have to be able to adjust accordingly. Some drivers get later on that than others, and that's why you see the guys scatter like this.
Here they come down the back straightaway. You've got the 75 and the 75 in 1 and 2. At least that's the way it looks on our screen. Busa out in front. He's driving the 34. Then the actual 75 of Parker Kligerman. There's another 75 in this field, in this lead pack. It's Landon Huffman. He's got a 0 in front of his number.
Attack of the 75s here at the front of the field, no doubt, is Matt Busa leading Parker Kligerman to the line, and Landon Huffman marched up a couple of spots, 14th to 8th. Had some bad luck this past week at Hickory Motor Speedway, looking to turn that around tonight at Daytona.
And as they cross the start-finish line, Landon Huffman is the only driver to cross the line in the top 10 who started in double-digit territory. Once it was 3 strong, but Huffman now the only one this time inside lane with more of a charge. It's Gary Sexton this time around as the leader of this group.
Here they come down the back straightaway, and they're still shuffling around in the middle of this lead pack. It doesn't seem like they can really get organized. They think they've got a run, and then all of a sudden it just sort of fizzles out. Somebody gets out of line, and it opens the door for somebody else. But Gary Sexton trying to lead the charge downstairs.
Sexton trying to get it done, and that inside has gained a little bit of momentum these last couple of laps. Another lap car going to stack him up, though. That is Matt Stolnick, who's been fighting some connection issues tonight. He'll go a second lap down as they work into turn number 1.
And for those guys at the back half of the field, you got to imagine that they are desperately looking for a caution. And I figure that's why that second pack is so far behind. They anticipate that these guys are going to wad them up and create a caution somewhere on the racetrack, but it hasn't happened so far. So the prayers not yet answered for most of the field.
Sexton getting a push from Stephen Ellis down on this inside line, and on the back deck lid for Gary Sexton's car, a tribute to one of his karting buddies, Edwin Brazil, who passed away in the last week or so. Riding on board with Gary Sexton now, trying to win the race for Edwin, a 4.
Well, Sexton trying to lead that inside line, and of course everybody here at Podium eSports want to send our condolences and well wishes to his family. Racing with a heavy heart tonight, but Sexton tried to do him proud and go for the race lead here on the inside.
And definitely so. Our thoughts are with the family of him and Gary here. We know how good he can be. He's been solid at these super speedways, solid at the dirt tracks where he was dominant last season and won before ending up in a crash on the outside wall. Gary Sexton looking to find some move here on the bottom. Nobody, though, willing to work with him just yet.
Yeah, he doesn't have many friends. He's got Stephen Ellis, he's got Michael Massey down there, as well as Kallenbach. But really, it's just a 5-car, make it a 6-car breakaway at the front from Busa all the way back to the 98 of Presley Sorr off the corner.
I'm trying to pick one car off at a time. No!
It's George Balfons Jr., DJ Cummings is in it, Ryan Vargas is around, Leighton Sabile is around. Here comes the second pack. They are crawling down the front straightaway, Blake, and it was just coming off corner number 4. One car got loose. It was DJ Cummings. Actually, it was Balfons that got the wall. Somebody came down to avoid. I believe it was Max Kennan, got into the rear of DJ Cummings, and it was on from there.
My goodness, we'll have to get another look at it as it was back in that lead pack. You could see a hard impact for the number 10 of DJ Cummings, who comes all the way from the bottom to the top, turning across the nose. We'll get one more look at it right here off of the degrees of banking. Oh, you can see one car up into the outside wall there, and kind of the reaction as DJ Cummings, an innocent bystander right there. Some more heavy damage for that 84. Of George Balfans, the 94 of George Balfans Jr. He actually has a meatball flag from that, so heavy damage for George Balfans Jr. Not going to be able to see lap 20 and has a lot of repairs on that race car.
Yeah, definitely. So luckily for them, they do have that fast spare to give away here in the Seminar Pro Series presented by Interstate Battery. So the race isn't officially over, but it's a big shunt to what was a solid start in the opening 17 laps. And the 94 just skirted up the 31 degrees of banking, got into the outside wall, and it really wasn't DJ Cummings that got into it until Max Kennan went down just to get away from the problems, just in case. But Balfans didn't move, and then 21 got the 10, and DJ Cummings caught some serious air there out of turn 4. But here comes the field on a pit road. First batch of pit stops underway.
First round of pit stops as these drivers looking to get charged up with a little bit of fuel. And speaking of getting charged up, if you want to build top industry standards, Interstate Batteries has been the technician's choice for 9 years and counting. Powered by a distributor network of 300 wholesale warehouses and backed by more than 150,000 dealers around the world, as well as the 200 all-battery center franchise stores, Interstate seeks to deliver the most trustworthy source of power to the world every single day. Interstate Batteries, outrageously dependable. And we want to thank Interstate Batteries for their support here of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries, the new title sponsor here for Season 5. It looks like off of pit road, not going to be too many four-tire calls, but it looks like for the moment it'll be Matt Busa who both enters and retains his race lead off of pit road.
And it looks like, Blake, for the top 5, all of those guys decided to only take fuel on their race cars. Everybody else below them, 6 on back, including your pole sitter tonight, Colin Fern, around the 14-15 second bracket on their pit stop. So obviously looks like tire calls along with fuel and along with some repairs, depending on who is damaged. So interesting to see here in this early track temp when it's not that high as the sun rises over Daytona Beach, only looking for fuel. No rubber this time by.
No rubber. And again, Jacob, I think that's going to be the case. You're going to see a lot in this race. I know I even did about a 50-lap run at Daytona in these next-gen cars in my tire wear. I don't think it was all of 2%. So I don't think those tires are going to come into play much. Of course, if you lock them down, it's going to hurt those tires, but otherwise not going to be too much of a concern, especially early in the race on this racetrack that is currently shaded.
I don't think tire wear matters a ton here in the long run. The only advantage I could find is you'll have a little more grip out of the tires when you try to make big moves late in the race. That's when I would want fresh tires. But you gotta also keep in mind, this surface was repaved back in 2011. It's not as bumpy as it used to be. It's not as abrasive on the tires. So it could be, in effect, a whole lot worse. But nonetheless, I think, you know, without tires, you can get away with it. It's not like the old bumpy Daytona where you're still slipping and sliding around and you would really want that fresh rubber. Here you can kind of get away with just fuel only, plus we're only 18, 19 laps into this deal, so it's really not going to have a big impact right now.
Not going to have a big impact. His lights are off on the pace car. We'll get a quick word with George Ballfans Jr. wrapped up in that incident. George, real quick before we go green, what happened there?
I guess there's just a dead feeling in this wheel, and I haven't really been able to nail it down. And I just went up and kind of touched the wall, kept it straight, and then the 10 car came spinning in front of me, so got to use a fast repair a little earlier than anticipated, or at all, and just kind of hope for the best here.
All right, George, we'll let you get back to it as we go green. Thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, man, thanks.
All right, we'll let George Ballfans get back to work. Is the pace car going to dip in? It's not an uncommon, I guess, feeling from this next-gen car. We've heard that a number of times, that racket pinion steering on this car, a lot better reaction time, and sometimes that could be a bad thing. As we're green once again, they'll go off to turn number 1. Here comes Will Rogers, charged on the outside. He may take a look at the race lead.
And Matt Busa was the one in control of that restart to the green flag, but Will Rogers sort of beat him to the line, and the 55 immediately with a huge shot from the one of Gary Sexton, though Matt Busa will shoot up high. Same deal for Presley Sorrell, 1-2 Ford Mustangs.
This is pandemonium. Landon Huffman cut somebody off on the outside line and about caused a huge stack up. And now, oh my, here comes Anthony Alfredo up the middle. Brad Perez just trying to find a place in line. He goes to the outside line. One car downstairs, it's Gary Sexton. He goes to the top.
Anthony Alfredo stuck in the middle, 3 wide as they'll lean on each other's doors. That is Anthony Alfredo and Brian Cook as they nearly came to blows off of turn 4. Alfredo still stuck in the middle. No help for that 23. He'll finally find the high side.
And that was a saving grace there for the 23 to find space, and a lot of it, in fact. But Ron Capps, Brian Boris Cook, the 2 Crypto Autosport Toyota Camrys are going to quickly approach Hollywood, Florida's Brad Perez, who is now in the sucker hole here out of turn 2. Outside lane, completely dominant as of lap 21.
Did we cross lap 20, or do we have 20 to go? Because that's the way these guys are racing. Trouble! Oh, TJ Majors gets turned! Brian Boris Cook hard into the wall and upside down! It's the big one in turn number 3. Ford Martin is in it. One car upside down, still it's Brian Boris Cook. David Schildhouse has damage. One car is just stopped on the apron in turn number 3. That is Connor Daly. A huge 6, 7, 8, 9 car pileup in turn number 3 to bring out the second caution.
My goodness, has it already begun? I think what Jacob was saying was exactly right. Is this lap 121 or lap 21? And speaking of 21, that is exactly where this originated. We're going to look at the number 6 of TJ Majors as they worked into turn number 3. You're going to watch a little bit of a stack up here between Majors and Earnhardt Jr. And Kennan not able to slow down in time. Cook, vicious impact there with the wall inside or outside retaining wall rather as they worked into turn number 3. And the stack of effect here, Kenneth, when you have 45 cars in the field, there's a lot of cars that are going to come piling in, and you can see a lot of damage here and a couple of fast repairs that are likely going to have to be used pretty early.
And here's an onboard look from Championship 4 driver in Season 4, David Schildhouse, who looked okay until he got hit on the outside and got stuck directly in the middle. He may have to resort to the fast repair on pit road. But Blake, it seems like there's a trade-off with these next-gen cars, and I noticed it just a bit when Brad Perez skirted out of line, or I believe it was Gary Sexton actually that did, went down low, and then Colin Fern had a huge run of the car in front. You can build up a substantial push to the driver up in front of you and get a huge run. The only thing is, when you do get those huge runs, you have to slow down unless you're going to run the driver over in front of you, and that's why the drivers check up like that. It's exactly what happened there with Max Kennan, TJ Majors. Unfortunately, this is the second time that Kennan ends up in a crash, and it ultimately comes at the expense of Brian Boris Cook, who was doing good to move himself up through the field, but his car completely totaled in the infield grass.
Well, and that's one thing that's really difficult about this next-gen car. Not only do you get large runs, Jacob, but the visibility. Again, this is iRacing. You have to sit in the cockpit. You don't get a bird's-eye view of what's going on around your race car. So if you're tucked up right behind somebody like they were right there with TJ Majors and Max Kennan right behind them, it's hard to see that stack up initially unless you have a spotter talking to you about it. You kind of have to have a feel for it, and if you can't see it, sometimes it can be really difficult to check up for it.
Well, there's a good number of drivers that are in this field, Blake, that do have spotters, one of them being the 21 of Max Kennan. He's got Thomas Miller up on the box, up on the roof for him. A couple of others, Anthony Alfredo. Nick Olson has a spotter in here with him. Brennan Pollard Jr., Bernard Pollard Jr., I can read. Matt Busa, your race leader. He's got somebody high atop Daytona International Speedway. Ford Martin, no, that's Landon Huffman. He has one as well. It's almost an even split 50-50. I think more of these drivers have chosen not to have a spotter other than the one that iRacing provides that can't quite give you that real-time information that you may want here at a super speedway, which is why I would prefer to have a real person high atop the speedway and spotting. But nonetheless, some of these drivers just feel, I'm not going to need it. I've got mirrors. I think I'll be fine. Well, that's the risk that you run with.
Well, and I think that in-game spotter, it's great for providing you inside, outside, where the cars are relative to you side by side. But once you get into the gritty details of what's going on in front of you, which lane is working, all of those things that I'm sure many of these drivers who, you know, they're in the industry, they're around this all the time, they're used to that, Kenneth. I think when you look at sim racers, they're probably used to not always having a spotter, but many of these drivers who came from the real world and sim racing is kind of a hobby for them, I think it's a little bit different where, you know, they're not used to having to rely on that in-game spotter. They're used to having more of that direct communication when they're racing.
That's directly true. And if you listen to any radio chatter from any team in any level of NASCAR at these super speedways, you can hear some of them are a little common than others based on the driver that they are connected with on the team, but some of them are just very active and they won't stop because so many things happen so quickly at these super speedways that you have to continuously count many things at one time and have so many thoughts running through your brain while immediately trying to relay it perfectly to the driver without any crucial mistakes. So I mean, it's crazy that some of the guys on the sim just have the standard spotter that only can give you some information, and it works at some of the other tracks when you get longer runs and the field isn't packed up like this and things aren't really willy-nilly 100% full throttle racing. But in the super speedway pack, things move so quickly that it's so hard to relay that information, and the iRacing spotter can only do so much to a degree. That's why you see so many guys in this field have a real-time spotter, somebody that they're friends with, somebody that they work with, or anybody else, just to give them that information, and so they can clear all the mayhem tonight.
Well, and by the way, again, we mentioned this during the Alpha Graphics Duels at Daytona, whether this new rule of incident limits, incident points would come into play. Well, guess what? Maxwell Kennan, he just got 1 strike for the rest of the season that will carry with him. We'll touch on that in just a little bit as the big green egg, green flag going to be displayed in the air. Matt Busa right now going to test the inside line. We've seen the top be dominant, but right now Busa leading the charge on the bottom as they work into turn number 1.
And the reason that Busa isn't immediately going up top is because that outside lane just didn't have a good jump. You see the 55-75, Rogers and Kligerman, they had connection there with Busa on the restart, were able to keep up pace with him. And now, because they did that, they cleared the lane for the outside. So it's 1, 2, 3, 34, 55, 75 up at the front.
That outside line was just congested. Everybody was backing up, running into the back of each other, but I think they've sorted it out, at least for the time being. Matt Busa continues to lead the charge. Stephen Ellis leads downstairs. He's side-by-side for 4th.
Side-by-side for 4th, and as you ride on board with Matt Busa, you can even kind of, you're looking at a screen, but look at the eye movement of Matt Busa. He's probably looking up more than he's looking down, looking in that virtual mirror, because he's got a line full of cars leading that outside lane.
And when you have a line full of cars behind you, you are susceptible, you are prone for guys behind you making moves on the inside or outside. So Busa making sure that he knows where the big runs are coming from. And if any guy tries to move down low or try anything different, he knows where to spot it. He knows how to react in enough time.
Here comes Colin Fern. He peeks to the inside, side drafts to the side of Presley Sora. Gary Sexton's going to drop to the bottom. He'll join with him. That'll allow Nick Olson to surge forward up on the outside line and fill the gap. But it's now Colin Fern trying to lead the charge as one on the wall off the corner. And they're going to hang on. I believe that's Michael Massey. No, it's Ron Capps that got the fence.
Ron Capps right next to Dale Earnhardt Jr. running there for the 13th position, gets into the fence, but Colin Fern trying to lead every lap, just can't really do it right there from the bottom.
And it was tough there that really nobody was going with him. It looked for a moment that Fern would have hope on the back straightaway. Guys would immediately pack in and support the 86 Chevrolet Camaro, but not many people did so. So Fern kind of stuck on the bottom trying to hold out hope. Meanwhile, it's still Busa in control at the front.
Parker Kligerman was kind of peeking to the inside there, but he doesn't jump for it quite yet. Colin Fern still trying to regain some momentum with Gary Sexton all over the back door. Trouble! One car gets turned. It's Ron Capps up and into Preston Pardis. 5, 6 cars go spinning, sliding. Ryan Vargas. No, that's not Ryan Vargas. That's Raja Caruth that gets a piece of it. He's got damage. I think Brian Boris Cook got involved in another. Right at the very end, some more contact up against the outside wall. Brett Baldick slides in and barely makes some contact. The 11 of Steve Affon is parked up against the fence. He's got damage. Caution flag is out. It all started with contact between Ron Capps and the 88 of Mike Clay to set that whole thing off.
And we're going to take one more look at the replay, and there you have it. Mike Clay, and it looks like he had a huge run, and not only that, Ron Capps, who was in the outside lane for a couple of moments, couldn't really find himself a lane right there. You see the merging of kind of 2 cars going for the same piece of real estate. And that is the end result. Ron Capps, who had fallen back behind Dale Earnhardt Jr. for the 13th position just a couple of moments ago. You get a really good look at it here at this chopper cam. Look at that 28 and where he's trying to find his spot in line, but Mike Clay's there.
I think it might have just been a little bit of indecision. Of course, that huge run from Clay probably caught him off guard. He was trying to decide, okay, should I stay up high or should I go down low? Do I have enough time to make this move in front of Clay? And we won't end up in an incident, but unfortunately, he stays in the middle and Clay slightly taps him. And at these speeds, guys, it's way more than enough to send the car spinning. The notable guys in it, Raja Caruth, who had obviously started 45th, dead last in this race. Preston Pardis, who looked hopeful in the Alpha Graphics Duel at Daytona and the LCQ. Adam Cabot, your Season 4 champion, who also started deep in the field. So a lot of heavy hitters getting the worst end of the stick on this caution to lap 29.
And a big split decision here in this field, as we have about our top, let's call it 15 or so that are electing to stay out on the racetrack, and the rest of the field, what I would assume would be nothing more than the top off on fuel in case that comes in. Again, Jacob, we have a little bit of a different strategy, as you mentioned tonight. 80% fuel with these larger fuel cells that can take about 20 gallons on max in this next-gen car. It's a little bit more than the 18.7 that we had in the Gen 6, but you cut that into 80%. Obviously, you're eating into a little bit of fuel mileage there, and I think I would like to pit right here. What do you think?
I would think pitting would be a solid option. You think about, well, we're coming to about 95 to go here once we get the restart, so there's still a long way left in this deal. You're going to have to pit a couple more times, there's no doubt about it, but any time that I think you get the opportunity to pit, I would, just in case. You never know when you're going to click off an entire fuel run under green, and I think you'd rather be safe than sorry and be on strategy with everybody else than be the oddball, stay out, and then get caught with your pants down if we're able to stay green for 40-some laps, and then you have to pit off cycle, lose the draft, and then you're in a whole heap of trouble.
Well, and it's not exactly fuel. It's not the only reason they're coming down to the service of their race team. Several drivers, even if they've been involved looking to save that fast repair, but they're trying to make all the repairs possible to keep that in the back pocket, Kenneth. I don't think you want to be like a George Ballfans Jr. That already has that fast repair gone. You can't lean on it later in the race. So several of these drivers who maybe have a minute and a half of damage, they're trying to click all that away, but keep that fast repair in their back pocket because it's such a long race. You may need it later on.
And that's a point that's harped on in previous seasons, and of course what's going to be harped on here in Season 5 is that in any race, no matter what circumstance, no matter what position you end up in, unless it's maybe a tow or maybe you end up in the worst possible case scenario, you want to save that fast repair for as long as possible because it becomes a strategy point. We talk about fuel, we talk about tires, but we're going to talk about the usage of the fast repair and how crucial that is going to be for track position and guys having clean cars and basically a blank slate for the end of the race. So keep in mind the guys that have already used it and the guys who are still holding on to it even despite the damage. It probably is going to mean a lot more at around lap 120, 125 than it is going to mean right now at lap 30.
Certainly so, and as you can see in the background here on some of these shots, that sun starting to rise here just a little bit as we approach lap 30 in what is almost 7 a.m. Eastern time in the sim itself. So that definitely going to become a factor and move on up just a little bit as the Sunrise 500 presented by SimSeats rolling along right here. We're nearly at the quarter distance mark of this race. As pace car will pull off, we'll get the big green egg, green flag here in just a moment with Matt Busa and Will Rogers, who elected to stay out under this most recent caution flag. Will get us up to full song here in just a moment. Green flag in the air, Busa and Rogers, your top two. Kligerman right to the back of that fellow 75 car in front of him. He's got Nick Olson working in tandem, nearly a 3-car tandem as they work towards turn 1.
And that's a solid push there into the 31 degrees of banking from Colin Fern, but Fern is actually going to ditch the former Road to Glory Series champion. He's going to try to form a third lane, but he's not going to be successful. Nobody's going to go with him. He'll tuck back in. It'll kill the outside for a moment. Busa will have a chance for the lead once again.
That was a bold strategy, Cotton, but it really paid off. He was able to slip right in line, even if it cost him a spot or two in the end. Not too bad. Here comes Presley Sora. He drops down to the bottom. He is barely clear of Matt Busa. He's going to go all the way to the front. Now Busa peeks to the outside.
And Busa will have Parker Kligerman go with him. It was nearly a trio of 75 cars that went to the outside line right there, but Landon Huffman will tuck in line there behind Presley Sora. He'll fall back to fourth, but Busa, Kligerman, Rogers, your top three.
And one thing to know about that 98, the Ford Mustang that says I love jerky on the hood of that car, he's trying to earn respect. This is his first full-time season in the Monday Night Racing Pro Series. He was the Road to Glory champion 1 season ago, so earning respect with these moves at Daytona is crucial.
Trouble.
But a caution will come out before we could have a fight for the lead. And it looks like some scuffles near the rear. Bernard Pollard Jr. is camped on the apron.
Huge checkup, guys. I think it involved the 5. He was the first one, Bailey Turner, that got involved. They were almost crashing 5 rows up in front of him. James Bickford and Stephen Ellis were banging doors and banging against the wall all the way through turns 1 and 2. Bailey Turner, meanwhile, he got put up into the wall by Robbie Lyons. And then from there, they just couldn't check up in time. Bernard Pollard Jr. got slammed up into the wall. Ruben Garcia, I think, may have gotten a piece. Maxwell Kennan definitely did, as well as Connor Daly getting on the brakes. I think he avoided contact for the most part. Case Kallenbach got a big piece of that as well. So, wrecking at the front, wrecking at the back.
That's what I saw there. That really all kind of originated a little bit ahead of where this wreck took place. I think it was around the Raja Caruth machinery, a couple places in front of him. Mark Revelis looked to kind of start a little bit of a checkup as he obviously got on the apron to slow down based off of that contact that was happening up front. So that's kind of another place where it originated. So a really tough situation that when smoke comes out, Kenneth, you typically react to it, and we've obviously seen that some drivers react to it a lot quicker than others, to say the least.
Yeah, the smoke is definitely a telltale sign. Hey, there's trouble up in front. It's kind of hard to predict, but obviously some guys have that natural instinct. Look at that onboard, though, that shot from David Schildhaus. How close he was to hitting a car. Bailey Turner sailing down the 31 degrees of banking. Luckily, he gets out of it. Schildhaus has yet to use his fast repair, so that's a very key move to keep him in this Sunrise 500. And also to note, Adam Cabot again involved in another incident. It has not been the cleanest night for your Season 4 champion. A little more damage assessed to the front end of his Camaro.
Well, and unfortunately, we have a little bit of, I guess, sad news, but good news in a way, depending on how you want to look at it, that we have our first, or the first of many things going on this season, a brand new sponsorship that came this season to the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries for Season 5, was a new, I guess we could call it the Last Place Award. I know that's not the official name of it, but essentially DoorDash is partnering with Monday Night Racing to award a $25 gift card to the last place finisher each week this season. And unfortunately, courtesy of that wreck, leaving this server is Bernard Pollard Jr. So Bernard Pollard, bad luck, but at least at the end of it, he's going to get a $25 gift card courtesy of DoorDash. So I don't know, at least a little bit to take out of tonight after some bad luck.
Maybe, I guess. I don't know, $400 on the line. You get involved in a wreck before we get a quarter of the way through, and okay, yeah, here's $25. I mean, it's something that the guy that finishes in 42nd won't get. So I guess if you're gonna finish last, you get that. All right, that makes it a little bit better. Maybe just gonna be a deep hole as far as the rest of the season plays out with playoffs and everything. Really, you gotta win and you're in.
Hey, I mean, in that case, if you're gonna get a gift card from DoorDash, if you end up DNFing, you end up last in a race, some drivers don't end up eating dinner before these M&R races start because they happen around 8 o'clock. Some people eat a little bit later around that time frame. So if you end up out of the race early, hey, you got some free dinner on your hands. Maybe you can order some, get to your house, maybe watch the rest of the race, but have a good meal. It's an unfortunate trade-off because you finish last, which is obviously not a good thing, but you get some money from DoorDash along the way, which is also kind of a good reward, I guess, a good present, as opposed, I'm not sure how to describe it. It's still kind of a weird middle ground, but it's cool to see DoorDash partner with the series this season.
Well, see, Kenneth, I got an idea. I mean, what's great about this award, and we got 90 laps to go, I think you could get off right now, take that $25 gift card from DoorDash, and you could order DoorDash, and it will arrive before the end of this race. So if you want to watch the end of this race while everybody else is sweating because they've been running 312 miles at this place, you can, order up Chick-fil-A or whatever you want and have it by the time the race is over, and at least have something to watch and eat at the end of this race. So I got to say, I think it's a cool award. Unfortunate you never want to win it, but it's better than whoever finishes 44th and doesn't get DoorDash. So
well, it's a good thing that at least Chick-fil-A is open on Mondays, at least.
Yes, I have a bone to pick with Garrett Smithley. He posted a picture, which, by the way, he's not racing tonight. That's sad to see. Didn't make it through the Alpha Graphics Duels at Daytona last week, but he posted an Instagram story of Chick-fil-A earlier today, and wouldn't you know, about an hour and a half later, I was in a Chick-fil-A drive-thru line. So thank you, Garrett Smithley. Didn't order it on DoorDash though. Drove to the drive-through by myself. But regardless, lights are off on the pace car as we have reached the quarter distance mark here. We'll start lap 36 and a tandem of 75 cars at the front of the field. Matt Boosa on the inside, Parker Kligerman on the outside, and we'll get them rolling. And up to full song, green flag in the air, lap 36 on the board. Boosa and Kligerman side by side as they work through the tri-oval and towards turn 1.
And what's interesting here is that we've seen Blake, the 75 and the 34 work well together, but now that they're in opposite lanes here on this restart, how does that change the approach from Kligerman's perspective? Does he want to control the pace like Boosa's been doing for the past while, or does he want to hang back and let Boosa control the action out of turn 4, or rather out of turn 2? The 55 had a big checkup, couple drivers diving down low, but Kligerman to the lead.
Big checkup throughout the entire field. I don't know what is going on, but these guys have just seemingly lost control so far. They need to clean it up, shape up, or ship out. Obviously, we've seen some already ship out that have just been involved in some unfortunate circumstances.
And certainly so, as they continue to file out that top lane, continuing to be dominant. Parker Kligerman, though, going to go to the top spot here at Daytona. So Parker Kligerman of NASCAR on NBC and probably 30 million other things that he does, he'll have the lead as he works into turn 1.
But here comes the fellow 75, Landon Huffman to the bottom. This time help from the 34 of Matt Boosa, Will Rogers, Presley Sora, Anthony Alfredo. Among those making the charge happen down low. A big wiggle from Huffman will send him directly in the sucker hole, 3 wide for the lead.
75, 75, and oh yeah, 75. Bye-bye, Landon Huffman. Here comes Matt Boosa on the inside. Ron Capps has been given a black flag for a restart violation. Nonetheless, it's Kligerman on the outside. Boosa on the inside with the run. He's now got the lead and clear off 4.
And he's clear to the top. Boy, did that create a stack up between Parker Kligerman and Gary Sexton there. But Kligerman going to take it in stride and go right back to Matt Boosa, trying to tandem with that fellow 75 of Mode Motorsports into turn 1.
And in a way, what you're going to see here in the super speedway type of racing, guys, is that when you see people make those moves, like if it's on the last lap, you have to be willing to be patient. Maybe let the guy in front of you slide up for now, because you know that there's still a long way to go in this race. Although it looks like Presley Sora's trying to lead from the get-go. Lap 38, 98 in the race lead.
And Will Rogers just dropped back in a hurry. Here comes Gary Sexton, but don't look now. The notorious SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen, in that Me Machine. He's up on the outside line, 4th in line. He's coming to the front.
We have about 15 cars or so, call it 16, that are in this lead pack. Getting drop kicked through the center, through that sucker hole is Gary Sexton. But up front, it is Boosa who is now pushing Presley Sora to the race lead.
And Sora will have a fight. Boosa will go immediately back down low. Kligerman almost thought about going to the middle to support Boosa on his venture there out of turn 2, but would decide better of it. Still side by side for the lead. It checked up the outside. Here comes the 55 of Rogers. Help from Alfredo.
Big run of that inside line, few but mighty down there. Dylan Welch is there in that 14. Ryan Vargas has rebounded after that crash. He's back into this deal, as well as TJ Majors. Where did he come from? He finds himself 5th on that inside line, still side by side between Rogers.
Majors, who has been mired back in the pack, able to climb on forward. So Rogers falling back to Anthony Alfredo, trying to get that bottom lane to work. Doesn't look like it does. Alfredo going to bail out as they work to turn 1.
And so that will kill the inside line again, but Presley Sora is willing to be brave. We've seen it happen before where guys make single-handed moves like that. Presley Sora, textbook move on the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series veteran.
And now the entire outside line stacks out. Who's going to be the bold one to drop down to the inside? Well, it's going to be nobody. They're just going to stay tucked up there. But Matt Boosa all over the back door of the 98 of Presley Sora. Will Rogers leading the bottom side. He's got help from Dylan Welch. He'll be side by side for 3rd. Here comes Kligerman to the bottom.
Kligerman going to try to make a move down to the inside lane. Goes back up to side draft, but doesn't have the help with him at the moment. Now he'll get a little bit of help of Will Rogers. So Kligerman now to the 2nd lane. Boosa will stay in line. No, he'll look for the race lead.
You know, I may have been completely wrong when I said at the opening jump of the Sunrise 500 that we would see many drivers try to log in laps and be calm. They're racing like it's the white flag out displayed at Daytona. Boosa going to lose draft. It's Dylan Welch to give support. Boosa will fall out. Kligerman to the lead once again.
The only guy that hasn't been dicing it up at the front is the guy that we talked to, Malik Ray. He's the only guy I haven't seen up here in this lead pack. Kligerman leads, Will Rogers in second, then Presley Sora, Shane Van Ginsbergen, Anthony Alfredo, James Bickford, your top 6 breaking away.
And it is now not just 6, it is 7 as, they're getting a little dicey. Matt Busa into the wall as they work through to the tri-oval. Busa saves it. It looked like a little bit of contact, I believe, with Ryan Vargas. They'll sort it out, but that inside line dies as a result.
It was Dylan Welch who was in the middle, tried venturing up high and then slammed into the front nose of the Ford Mustang in that 34 Matt Busa, and Busa got stuck in the sucker hole, is now pushed back to 9th. This is a big shot of what was a dominating race up front, all single file through at least the first top 10.
Yeah, this inside line is really falling apart. Maybe they realized it's time to ride around, but here comes Ryan Vargas. He now leads the bottom with Gary Sexton and George Belfons Jr. in tow. They might need a little more help, but they're clawing their way up side by side for 9th.
Again, this is lap 42 as we're roughly a third of the way through the Sunrise 500, presented by SimSeats. Long way to go. Kligerman, Rogers, Sora, Van Ginsberg, Anthony Alfredo, your top 5.
And what's insane to think about is that Shane Van Gisbergen started 44th in this field as you take a look at Gary Sexton's Battle Beaver Toyota Camry. The 97 of Shane Van Gisbergen has only 1 win at a track 2 miles or over on an oval configuration. It was at Michigan. 5 wins to his talent. We'll see if he can do it this time from Daytona.
Everything has calmed down, and I don't blame these guys. They've got lap traffic ahead in Ron Capps and Ford Martin. So here they come through turns 3 and 4. Vargas and this inside line, they're not done yet. They're still surging on the bottom, and here comes Alfredo.
Alfredo making a charge up front as they're going to approach lap traffic here in this lead pack. It's going to be Ron Capps, it's going to be Ford Martin that this field is going to swallow up. They'll get to him by the time they reach turn 1.
And we've seen Alfredo be the pusher. This is really the first time we're seeing him be the push-E with Ryan Vargas behind him in the JD Motor Esports number 6 Chevrolet Camaro. So Alfredo may have something to say for the top guys in the running order, just can't do it with the amount of numbers down low.
Here they come down the backstretch, and there goes Ford Martin. See you later, Ford, as the field comes rocketing along. Here comes Alfredo with help from Vargas. Now Presley Sora is going to drop downstairs. He wants a shot at the lead. He goes to the inside. He'll be side by side with Kligerman.
Side by side as they approach lap traffic, and it looks like they're going to get out without any trouble as Sora by a nose will have it at the stripe. He's got Alfredo with him. Ryan Vargas, haven't talked a whole lot about him. He's third on the car on that inside line.
Yeah, Vargas has not had the greatest start to this Sunrise 500, but if there's one thing to note about these super speedway races is that anything can change in a matter of moments. Vargas was near the rear, involved in an early lap incident, but now back up to the top 10 as he tries to give help to Alfredo on the super stretch.
The sun is getting closer and closer to rising if it hasn't risen already. 7-11 in sim right now. Here comes Presley Sora. While Parker Kligerman, he's risen to the front. Presley Sora is nipping at his heels off 4.
Trying to work it as, Kligerman got tight nearly into the outside wall. An aggressive shove there from Will Rogers up front. They are 2 wide, about 8, 9, even 10 rows deep as they work towards turn 1. Kligerman and Sora duking it out for the race lead.
And this is really the first time, guys, that we've seen that inside line be equal with that outside. And many times on restarts or even on some long green flag runs, we've seen the outside have at least 4 to 5 cars of leeway before the inside can get back to it. Will Rogers gets put into the outside wall. Shane Van Gisbergen gets put in the middle of the field. James Bickford rolls up and over. Dylan Welch is in it. Raja Karuth is in another crash. Landon Huffman spins in the aftermath. And it was one slight wrong move in the middle of the pack to send us under caution to lap 46.
Just a lot of dicing at the front of the pack, and Anthony Alfredo tried to come up and get into this outside line. He wasn't clear. So the outside line lifted. Actually, Will Rogers, he was clear. Will Rogers bounced it off the wall in the straightaway. That sent him down into Shane Van Ginsbergen. They made contact. That kicked Shane Van Ginsbergen's car sideways. He bounced off George Belfons Jr. Nowhere for James Bickford to go. Stephen Ellis piles it in. I don't know how Robbie Lyons made it through that, but he did. Dale Earnhardt Jr. got a piece of it. He bounced off of Dylan Welch and turned him around. If there hasn't been a big one yet, guys, I think this one is it. Matt Busa involved. Gabe Wood, I think, got dinged up a little bit. Raja Karuth involved. He's got a lot of damage. Landon Huffman, as Kenneth mentioned. Ron Capps, I think, may have bounced off a car or two. Definitely the big one. A lot of big names involved in this one here at Daytona.
A lot of names. I know Dylan Welch got a lot of damage in it. As you can see right there, spinning across is that 97 machine of SVG, as they like to call him here in Monday Night Racing. You see it once again, working towards that sunrise into turn number 3. Golly, that's a nice shot of Bickford, I believe that was right there, bouncing around there in the middle of the back straightaway. Matt Busa, who had been so strong and was a Coke Series contender, who got wrapped up in that, Jacob, and I was about to make a note there about Matt Busa and even Malik Ray being in these races. They're only going to be competing tonight at Daytona. It's not going to go any further than that. So for them, I think they would show aggression and just try to go after a race win here, and Busa was certainly doing that. Malik Ray kind of taking the opposite end of that strategy and trying to keep his car around until about the second half of this race and charging forward later. You can see some cars working their way off of pit lane, some taking that coveted fast repair, some will stay behind and try to make some repairs. Mike Clay, David Schildhouse, Justin Malillo, a couple of those names who are waiting around getting their cars fixed up, keeping that fast repair in that back pocket.
Man, there are a lot of people in that wreck that I think may have no choice but to use their fast repair, because the alternative is, if you have too much damage and you choose not to take the fast repair, then you're slow. We get a green flag run, you've got the chance of being lapped. And you know, if you don't have the speed to race for the lucky dog position, you're going to be in trouble. And really, I think it's beneficial for these guys. Just take the fast repair and ride around and hope you can't be in a wreck until we get, you know, inside 20 laps to go or so you're not really putting yourself on the line too much. But that's just me. I don't know if I really would have put myself in a position to get involved in a wreck like that this early on. Like, we're not even halfway yet, and that's our 4th or 5th big crash of the night. We keep this up, we're going to have 10 cars left running at the end. These guys got to clean it up.
Well, it's kind of what happened in the duels a week ago. It's what happened in Thursday Night Thunder, that once we got towards the end of the race, as oftentimes is the case here at Daytona, it becomes a race of attrition. And especially here when you have a fast repair in the back pocket, I think that makes drivers a little more aggressive, a little more willing to make a move that perhaps you would think twice about if you knew that it was over. If you hit the wall hard or got engine damage, that you wouldn't have the capability of getting that fast repair. Of course, drivers being waved around the racetrack if they do fall a lap down. That is a rule here in Monday Night Racing. So if you fall 1 lap down, 2 laps down, like we saw Ford Martin just a little bit earlier, he's going to continue limping along with a damaged race car, but he is able to make up some of those laps under the caution. So again, a calculated effort to try and save that fast repair. You're going to hear us talk about that a lot. It became a big factor last season. It'll be a big factor, I'm sure, in the races that we talk about this year. It looks like, as far as that review is concerned for that caution, I'm thinking it was the 55, yes, the 55 car from Race Control. Will Rogers technically going to be the cause of that caution, so that is a 1X for Will Rogers on the score sheet for Season 5, and courtesy of that is going to be put at the tail end of the field.
It's going to be tough there for Rogers, and just a mistake of hitting the outside wall set the car all out into whack, and we'll see how the recovery journey looks for the 55, and it's going to be the same deal for the likes of Matt Busa, for the likes of Landon Huffman, who was running up front. You think about Roger Caruth, who was kind of hanging around the midfield. Of course, the 97 of Shane Van Gisbergen, no doubt about it, he got caught up in the incident. So we'll see what they can do on the recovery tour, but for now, they've got a lot of positions to make up. It's still rather big field, despite the crashes we've seen.
Pace car going to pull off this time. A couple of drivers who elected to stay out, or actually just one. Count that. It was Connor Daly, the IndyCar Series driver, and somebody who was awfully familiar, the native Hoosier who led the Indianapolis 500 last year, is going to lead the Sunrise 500 to green, but he's not going to get to the stripe first. It is Ryan Vargas utilizing that outside line. He'll have the push from Fern.
It's a sunrise at La Mirada, California. Ryan Vargas to the race lead with the Xfinity machine of Colin Fern behind him. How about one driver we haven't really talked about? The 24 of Nick Olsen. Second car on the inside. One of the Road to Glory drivers, help from his fellow competitor, Presley Sora.
Nick Olsen trying his best on the inside line with Sora as well. Here they come, headed for turn number 3. Whoa, Colin Fern all the way down to the apron to try and get by Vargas. Here comes Kligerman. That just beats the door down on Ryan Vargas, and Fern and Kligerman go 1 and 2 off 4.
That could have been huge as Fern went to side draft and made contact with Ryan Vargas there for the top spot. That could have been bad at the front of the field. Nevertheless, they'll sort it out. Vargas not very happy with it on the radio. We'll try to get the lead. No help going, though, towards turn 1.
Yeah, he immediately lit up on the voice chat as soon as that move was made and tried to get back to the race lead via help from Gary Sexton, but Sexton decided to go back up top, so that leaves Vargas in a very compromising spot. Daly trying to help in the inside lane all over the place.
Have we learned nothing? These guys are driving crazy right now. We still haven't even gotten to halfway, and they are 3 wide. They're almost 4 wide. Connor Daly was on the apron and he couldn't go anywhere because he had 3 guys stacked up on his outside. Now everybody spreads out. Everybody drops to the bottom. Kligerman leads off 4.
Kligerman will pull them as they look to go 3 wide in the middle of the field. And actually, Race Control just put a message in chat. This race is 41% complete. Don't tell these drivers that. Parker Kligerman in the lead. Now Fern trying to get it back.
And Fern will have help from a new driver up at the front of the field. How about NASCAR Pink Mexico Series driver Ruben Garcia Jr.? He was the last driver in the transfer spot, knows the head of Gabe Wood to get through the LCQ to this Sunrise 500. So the Mexican trying to do his country proud, helping Fern on the super stretch.
He got in a photo finish for the transfer spot in the LCQ, and here he is now in that blue 33 Ford, trying to roar his way to the front. Ruben Garcia sits second behind Colin Fern. He leads off the corner and blocks Parker Kligerman.
Colin Fern gets up just in time to block that 75 car, and Kligerman will oblige to push him across the stripe this time. Fern, Kligerman, and down there on the inside, Garcia trying to lead him on.
If there's one thing you can learn about Colin Fern's driving is that he is not afraid. You can throw everything. The sky is falling at him and he won't budge. He will still try to do whatever he wants to do, and it's working out so far. Fern again in control of the Sunrise 500.
Ruben Garcia now leads the inside line, but they are falling back fast. Your top 4 breaking away. Fern, Kligerman, Gary Sexton, Adam Cabot. Where did he come from? But Ryan Vargas drops to the bottom. He'll lead the bottom side coming off turn 4.
Showing some champion's poise. There's Adam Cabot right there who rides along in the 4th position. Contact behind him. Nick Olsen, I believe, in that 24 car. Slotted just in time to get up high. They sort it out as they still have Fern in the lead.
Yeah, you got to pick and choose there if you want to go to the outside. You have to really tick your moments down. Fortunately, the 24 is able to be just behind the 23, and now it's between Vargas, the Californian, and Ruben Garcia, the Mexican, trying to give him a little bit of empujar here on the back straightaway.
Here they come. This inside line is jockeying for position. Raja Karuth is in this, and look who it is. Malik Ray in the 7, that Interstate Batteries machine. He has cracked the top 10 right behind that 41 of Matt Stallnecht. He's on the lead lap.
Matt Stallnecht, who was slow and didn't have a great race car, looks like he's got that thing fixed up, and he is in the lead pack duking it out. So a nice recovery there for Matt Stallnecht nearly halfway through this race, trying to get back up into the top 10.
Well, when you have attrition, guys, at these super speedway races, you're going to have these stories of Matt Stallnecht, who started from the pit, started dead last pretty much in this field. Raja Karuth, who had to face that penalty, started 45th. Malik Ray, who left back deep in the field. All these guys, because of the attrition, are getting back in the game.
Oh, Ryan Vargas got a little bit squirrely. Here comes Malik Ray and Raja Karuth flying up the middle. Side by side, 3 wide between Anthony Alfredo and Ruben Garcia. Now they're trying to get side by side with Brandon Brown and Ryan Vargas. Matt Stallnecht going to join them up the middle in 4.
It looks like Ryan Vargas may venture up there as well, as it is very difficult to get that middle to work, but if 2 can, it's going to be Malik Ray and Raja Karuth. They already break apart. Anthony Alfredo will go down low. No help with him, but trying to make that middle work, it's kind of broken up this lead pack.
Anthony Alfredo dodges down low to try to get some help. Look at the run by Raja Karuth. There's trouble behind. Malik Ray around. Ruben Garcia, Matt Stallnecht.
Oh my
happen in a scuffle. There's more cars in it to follow. Looks like Charlie Brown, Dakota Curtis. And once again, we have a parking lot on the apron of turns 3 and 4 at Daytona.
Just misjudging it. That's turns 1 and 2. Malik Ray was the first car sideways in that. Actually, no. It was Presley Sora got up and into the 75 of Landon Huffman. He got into Huffman, that turned him down into Malik Ray, and nowhere for Landon to go. Ruben Garcia, nowhere to go. Same thing for Matt Stolnick. I think Preston Pardis missed it, but I'm not sure how. Dale Earnhardt Jr. also managed to miss that. And then just everybody on the brakes, piling it on in. Stephen Ellis involved. As you mentioned, the 58 Charlie Brown involved. The 5 machine involved as well. That is Bailey Turner. He got a piece of it. I saw Justin Miller. He got a piece of it. DJ Cummings involved. I think Kallenbach got a piece of damage in that as well. A huge accident toward the middle of the field that takes out even more good race cars here at Daytona.
And that's not the first time tonight that we have seen kind of that stack-up effect, starting with the cars in the outside line who are just not quite able to see and react in time to them slowing very quickly in front of them. You get big runs, that means bigger stack-ups, and unfortunately I think Presley Sora just a little bit late on the reaction. There is the 75 and the 43 right in front of them of Landon Huffman and Leighton Sabile respectively, who came to a stop to avoid running over the cars in front of them. You get one more look off of the hood of Will Rogers here as they work into turn 1, and oh man, just about made it through, got tagged, and just came piling in. Space Station Machine making its way into that wreck, nearly had a way through, but once you get hit by that one car, it's definitely difficult. You can see the remaining damage on that number 55 Toyota. If your brand or business is interested in partnering with Podium Esports, we have space available for you. Podium Esports has a plan for every budget and can custom tailor solutions to suit your business or brand's needs best. For more information on the wide variety of partnership possibilities, send an email over to the admins at podiumesports.com. That is admin at podiumesports.com. is that email address. Says you can see the cars coming off of pit road. Another interesting call here for Connor Daly, who will stay out. A number of drivers involved and not involved in that accident will make the venture down to pit lane.
And also to note, 2 drivers have stayed out. Nick Olson, Matt Busa. Olson, of course, was running pretty good in the top 10 up until that crash, and then Busa had been up and down after dominating a good sector of this Sunrise 500. So we'll see if this call ends up paying off. And by the way, guys, it's already looked like we've had a lot of racing here at Daytona. We're barely even halfway of this 125 lap race. So figure if we saw what we saw in the first half, that second half is ultimately going to bring us a brand new experience like we've never seen before.
Certainly so, and actually correction on that. I interpreted a message here in our communication as Connor Daly staying out. He is out of the race. That is a correction right there. So fortunately for that 47 Connor Daly, not going to see it through to the end as he will take the car to the garage. I believe he is disconnected from the server, and his opening race here in Season 5 is going to be done. Out front as they run right now, those it looks like we are going to get back to green in just a lap's time. And yes, a couple of cars will take the wave around on that pace car. A couple staying out here at the front of the field. But at least as far as I can see, the lights on the pace car will be out, and we will be going green this next time by. So you see that 24, the 75s of Matt Busa and Parker Kligerman, respectively, will stay out onto the racetrack. As, guys, I know we have had so much happen. We've had so much to talk about. We're still not even halfway through this race.
Yeah, don't you forget it. We're still, 3-4 laps away from halfway? And we've had too many cautions. The number's just going to keep going up, though, as time goes on. So I've been saying it these last couple of restarts now, just take it easy, relax. You're not going to win the race here at halfway, but you can certainly lose it.
You definitely can. Well, I'm looking at drivers who have kind of done their job trying to miss a couple of wrecks. We've mentioned Gabe Wood. David Schothaus has just really been hanging out since being involved in that first accident. He still has damage on his race car, so believe he has a fast repair still in tow. As like Stephen Ellis, Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's been around a couple of incidents but hasn't been wrapped up in one just yet. I think those are some of the guys that when we mention them in 30 or 40 laps time, don't be surprised that they're at the front of the field. Lights are going to go off on the pace car. We'll get the big green egg, green flag here in just a moment. As we mentioned a couple moments ago, it'll be Nick Olson on the inside lane. Matt Busa on the outside lane will lead us through into the tri-oval and bring us into the restart zone. Green flag in the air. Nick Olson going to lead him, and a great jump going to help him for Parker Clearham there in third. They'll get tandemed up and hooked up pretty well as Olson tries to go high, and he'll have them clear as they work towards turn one.
It was a beautiful jump by the two Camaros up at the front. Kligerman and Olsen being able to immediately jump out ahead. There's one car, Ruben Garcia, pacing up the track, and there's a crash in turns 1 and 2.
Presley Sora got involved. Ruben Garcia was coming off pit road and was trying to stay on the apron, and he got into the grass. He was blinking around, just trying to avoid these guys, and sure enough, he comes back at the racetrack. He just lost it down in the grass as the field was coming by, and Presley Sora had nowhere to go but straight into the back end, into the side of Ruben Garcia. He just kept it parked on the apron, and he has now been disqualified. So Ruben Garcia involved in the second to most recent caution. He's involved with this one, and he has now been given the boot. Done for the night, guys.
Well, that was definitely an avoidable incident, as Garcia, I think he was battling some connection issues and whatnot, but obviously something that they don't want to tolerate here, coming off of pit lane and moving up into the pack. It is very, I think, lucky, Kenneth, that we only had one driver who was truly impacted by that. It was Presley Sora, who got a little bit of damage, but that could have been a lot, and I mean a lot worse if that happens a little bit further up in the pack. So a masterful job by the rest of this field, kind of minimizing the amount of damage that could have caused.
I think out of the probable 1,500 scenarios, I think a majority of those would be a huge crash in 1 and 2. Fortunately, though, it only gets one, although Presley Sora obviously not going to be happy about that because it happened out of his control. Just couldn't do anything. He was on the bottom of the racetrack, just riding his own race, trying to get back on the restart, and then things just go awry there with Ruben Garcia sliding up the track. Fortunately, though, a majority of the field not involved in it, and the good thing for Presley Sora is that he does still have a fast repair willing to burn, so that 98 does have his saving grace to get to the second half of the event.
Trying to keep this going forward, and again, I guess we'll be pacing around under the caution for a little bit after that, but again, a nice job for the rest of the field trying to get through that and not being impacted, I guess, by whatever that situation was. That was a stellar job. Trying to avoid all of that carnage, guys. And the other thing this allows Jacob and Kenneth is a lot of drivers starting to get those wave rounds. We had a number of cars who had gone one lap down trying to fix damage. Well, we see Charlie Brown, Ford Martin, Max Kinnon, Ron Capps, Dakota Curtis, Matt Stolnick, several drivers who had gone a lap down getting waved around the pace car to get back on the lead lap.
And they get a wave around under each caution, so the more caution flags we get, the more laps these guys can get back. I mean, looking at it, Dakota Curtis right now, Ron Capps, Max Kennan, Ford Martin, Charlie Brown, and Matt Stolnick are all either back on the lead lap, or I think Stolnick, no, never mind. He's going to stay one lap down, so he will be the first and only car a lap down. And then Ruben Garcia is gone. Malik Ray is still on pit road. He is 4 laps down. And then Connor Daly and Bernard Pollard Jr. are all out of the race. So the only guy that's left a lap down that's on the racetrack is Matt Stolnick. Everybody else back on the lead lap.
Getting back on the lead lap for certain. Well, Battle Beaver has everything you need for your next professionally modded custom controller with options for PlayStation, Xbox, GameCube, and much more. Battle Beaver has everything you need to elevate your gaming potential. Head to BattleBeaverCustoms.com to customize your controller. Use the code PODIUM, that is code Podium, Podium, for 10% off today. Again, go to battlebeavercustoms.com to take advantage of that 10% off and to get a great custom controller. I know there are a couple of drivers who will use the controllers. Usually I know Parker Kligerman has the controller king spotting for him and AJ Henderson. It doesn't look like that is the case tonight, but looks like he hasn't really needed it though. Kligerman up here in second. He'll restart next to Nick Olson as the lights are off on the pace car, so we'll get the green flag this time to start what would be the second half of this race.
And, think back to Parker Kligerman. I mean, obviously, the real-life experience that he's had at these super speedways. He's performed well when he shows up in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series at Talladega, so maybe using those super speedway instincts to use here in this Sunrise 500. And, by the way, just a note about Parker Kligerman in this series, he's been somewhat sporadic over the past couple campaigns. Last time he's been to victory lane was race number 6. Season 2 was the trucks at Knoxville. It has been a very, very long time since the old 75 of Kligerman has gone to victory lane in the M&R Pro Series, and tonight may be the gift that he's been looking for as he will start outside row 1.
Well, I think it's worth noting there that Kenneth, and I'm sure what Parker would argue is that it's been a lack of participation on his end, that he hasn't been running quite as much as he would have liked to, but when he has run a Monday Night Racing, no doubt about it, Parker Kligerman, a long-time sim racer, you can see him get it done in the sim racing world, and, he doesn't do too bad of it in the real world either. So Kligerman going to start on the outside of road number 1. Olson will officially have the race lead in that number 24 Grit Chevrolet. Pace lights are going to go off on the pace car and officially will complete lap 63. So into the second half of this Sunrise 500, you can see the sun is out and I guess the light's going up. It's turning up the intensity here. Nick Olson clear to the race lead and he'll pull along Adam Cabot, season 4 champion, as Cabot now gets the outside and oh man, almost contact into 1.
That could have been large there as Olson tried to give the block to the 17, the season 4 champion, but that was a very awkward restart on the outside with Kligerman because Carruth barely got into the quarter panel and almost about turned the 75. Fortunately, they kept it straight. It's 2 bow ties at the front of the field. Olson versus Cabot on the super stretch.
Down the back straightaway, Adam Cabot trying to pick up right where he left off. A winner at Auto Club. Now he's trying to win here at Daytona and put himself back into the playoff conversation. He leads the outside line. Nick Olson leads the inside line off 4.
Olson trying to do all he can to pull that inside lane along with him, and he's done a pretty good job of it. Pretty dead even through your top 4. 2 tandems leading both the inside and the outside lane. Give it to the inside lane for now is Raja Carruth all over the back bumper of Nick Olson.
Raj Carruth, a very solid super speedway pusher, and he's been keeping Nick Olson at the head of this field. How about Lane Sabile, who's also been behind that 13 as Nick Olson now charges up the 31 degrees of banking to block on Cabot. So it's Carruth now charging for the lead, Sabile behind.
And I had it wrong. It was Raja Carruth that won at Auto Club to end the season. Of course, Cabot finished second and won the championship. So still, nonetheless, trying to make it back into the playoffs with a win here at Daytona. Raja Carruth, though, is the one trying to go back-to-back.
Well, Raja Carruth goes to the race lead here. He'll pull 2 cars up to the outside. So you can see looking in that rear view mirror just as he should do. Raja Carruth to the point. Last 45th the first is that driver, the 13.
And 2 positions ahead of Carruth, 45th on the starting grid, was 43rd place, Brandon Brown in the 12. How about that Toyota Camry doing so well up at the front of this field as Colin Fern, with help from Nick Olson, is going to dive down low. Here comes Colin Fern to retrieve the lead.
That outside line really had to stack up. Leighton Sabile was not very happy about Carruth just sliding up in front of him there. That caused everybody in the top side to lift, but in the end, it worked out. That 13 continues to lead, but Colin Fern's hunting on the bottom.
And Fern and Carruth at the front. That could be an interesting mix. 2 drivers that want to lead and have been very aggressive up to this point in their Monday Night Racing careers. Fern going to have a little bit of drafting help. He may have a chance at the race lead into 1.
But it may not be good enough. Actually, the Xfinity car will dive down low and get underneath the Xfinity Series driver. So Carruth will lose the lead for a handful of moments. We'll see if they can get a better run out of the corner, this time with Sabile giving the shove. Carruth still even with Fern on the back straightaway.
Just a reminder, we are past the halfway point. Yay. Raja Caruth leads. Leighton Sabile right on the back bumper, but Colin Fern has the help from Nick Olson. He's going to push him all the way to the front. George Belfons Jr. peeks to the middle, gets back in line.
And just when that inside line looked like it was going to have a charge or something to say for the outside, well, forget that for just a moment. Here comes Leighton Sabile down to the bottom of the racetrack. Caruth will go down to side draft. A big bump coming from Colin Fern trying to push that inside.
Sabile with shades of Eric Jones at Talladega a couple of weeks ago in the Cup Series. The 43 U.S. Air Force is flying to the front and will have a nose-out head out of turn 2. Caruth will have the Sayback with help from Brandon Brown, and it's equal once again, bottom outside. They've been the same in this past run.
Sabile now leads the bottom. The outside still led by Raja Caruth. Brandon Brown, the pusher up there, but he hasn't gotten real close to the back bumper of that 13. Now here comes Colin Fern and Leighton Sabile up to the top. And Sabile, he stays to the bottom.
Colin Fern not showing any patience here to try to get to the front of the field as he will get back to the point. He said he wants to lead every lap. He hasn't quite done that, but he'll be shown at the point once again here at Daytona. Fern, Caruth, and Sabile, your top 3.
All you got to do is lead the last lap when the white flag is displayed here in the Sunrise 500. But he's got a big pusher in Raja Caruth, and who knows, Caruth could try to find a nose down low and make something happen, get a couple of patrons with him. Right now, not clearing the inside. Actually, here he comes down low.
He's going to bring Brandon Brown with him. Here comes Cabot. He looks to the inside. He's going to go up the middle. 3 wide for second. Parker Kligerman goes with them. Nick Olson gets turned. He gets into Gary Sexton. They're going to slide, and they're going to save it in turn 4. What a save by Gary Sexton.
Absolutely remarkable that they did not junk several race cars here off of turn number 4 that allows the top 8 or so to scoot away. But what a save from Olson and Gary Sexton.
That was chaos. How did they not crash and cause another yellow with 56 laps to go? Look at the move in the middle. Sexton almost about gets hit. Olsen got sideways, and everybody checked up at the right moment to avoid complete catastrophe. What that did do is break up the front and second packs. Everybody all separated on the back straightaway.
Divide and conquer now is the theme for this lead pack as the top, what is that? Top 8, top 9? Yeah, top 8. Preston Pardus at the caboose of that train, rocketing off turn 4. The second pack led by Matt Busa. They just got off turn 4 now.
Well, I got to say, guys, I know it's race number 1, but I think that might be the save of season 5 already. An incredible job by both drivers involved in that to collect it up. But you're exactly right, Jacob. 8 cars here funneling into turn 1. Matt Busa trying to lead a train of 9 or more to catch that lead pack.
And before pretty much all race long, we've seen a majority of the field tucked up together and the ability for more lanes to spread out. Now with only these amount of cars, these guys being a little more smarter about it, not trying to push the issue, want to stay tucked in line before anything gets haywire.
Now the question is, can this second pack find a way to catch this lead pack with the 275s pushing it? Well, Landon Huffman peeks to the inside. Matt Busa's going to slam the door. They drop to the bottom. They're about 4 seconds behind the race leaders, and they are not gaining much of any time.
Well, and this is really going to cause a strategy conundrum in this race. Do you try to run them down? And how can you? You're about 4 seconds back, and again, like Jacob said, not making up the time necessary to get back into this.
Yeah, and it's going to be tough here to get back. I believe you're going to need a caution, but if they continue to go side by side like this, maybe the guys at the front are just doing the dirty work for the guys in the rear. Kligerman down low. How about Britt Baldack out of Rochester, New York, up in the front for the first time this race?
I saw on the front straightaway there, guys, that Preston Pardus and Colin Fern kind of backed off. I thought for a moment they were backing off to kind of give Matt Busa and the rest of the pack a little bit of help to catch up. I think they were just dropping back so they could try and plan a run. The only problem is Parker Kligerman got in the way of Colin Fern, so forget that.
Well, they got side by side in this lead pack. That's going to slow them down just a little bit. We'll see if they make up time, and they certainly did. About 7/10 of a second, that second pack running the charges. Now they're on the bottom.
Yeah, it looked bleak for a moment there as the last lap, Busa set around a 47.6 while the leaders were setting 47.2s. But now he's setting laps in the 47 flat bracket, so it may end up working out. They may have a little more cars here than that first pack, so maybe this hard work effort with 53 to go can make sense near the end.
Hard pushing up at the front between Raja and Cabot. Things slowing down, and Brett Baldack, he is in danger of losing the draft. In danger, not really in danger, but Matt Busa in the second pack, they've got the fishing pole out. They gained 3/10 that lap.
Well, and I think they're pulling them along the bottom. They're going side by side and running the top here, so perhaps taking the shorter way around the racetrack is benefiting this second pack. Perhaps they're more formed up. They've put up about another 4/10 out of that advantage.
They've also got more cars, it seems like. Probably not by much on the deficit to the guys up in the front, but it is a little bit more in some certain cases. So them being tucked up together and having that amount of cars easily beats the guys up in front. So the time is ticking down. Gap's starting to close in. We'll see what happens.
How about this second pack? They are coming in a hurry. They're about 2 seconds back on Brett Baldeck and the tail end of this lead pack as they're trying to get around the lap car, the fixed car now, somewhat at least, to Malik Ray.
They'll try to work by that lap traffic. It looks like they're going to be able to do so now. So come across the stripe this time. We'll complete lap number 74. So 51 laps to go here at Daytona. If you're just joining us here, it is the season opener for Season 5, the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. Blake McCandless, Kenneth Bueno, and Jacob Hitz in the turns for you on the call for the season opener here for the Sunrise 500 presented by Sim Seats. If you're just joining us, we have a number of drivers who are behind the wall or several laps down. Ruben Garcia, Connor Daly, and Bernard Pollard Jr. who are out of this race. And at the moment, you still have 39 cars on the lead lap. You have 8 in the lead pack, and you have about 11 more that are trying to catch them. And Jacob, I don't think it's going to take too much longer if this lead group continues to stay side by side. We'll catch up with that in a little bit. But across the stripe right now, Raja Caruth, your race leader, as they work towards Kenneth Bueno in turn 1.
And Raja Caruth now still leading the group, but the thing I just noticed there is that Malik tried to make something happen, pushed Parker Kligerman to second. If they continue to go side by side like this is ultimately going to be the breakdown of this first pack. The second pack guys are already catching up. They've got a good head of steam on the back straightaway. It's only a matter of time now.
They're within a second of the back of the field. They are in the draft. And I tell you what, this lead pack, though, they picked up this 7 machine on Malik Ray. He is up to speed. He is with the lead pack. And these guys just trying to get a little suck off the back end of James Bickford there and Ford Martin.
Well, and you'll have to wonder how that comes into play. We know Malik Ray, kind of some good friends there with Raja Caruth, and is only out here for one race. So does Ray kind of try to help that 13. Right now, he has Parker Kligerman in front of him, but Malik Ray could play a factor to the end of this one.
And it looks like the 13 and the 7 have been attached at the hip since the drop of the green flag. They've been the ones willing to work to each other, and every time they end up getting separated, they immediately work to getting back together. But the biggest question I have is whether Boosted Company would go down low to make it 3 wide.
They're getting really aggressive here at this lead pack, and there are only 9 cars in it as that second pack, ready or not, here they come. Raja Caruth, he drops to the inside, protects the spot from Sabile. Now he looks up to the outside to try and clear Kligerman, and he barely gets there.
Yeah, they almost came to blows there as Kligerman went high. Malik Ray backed off, but it looked like he may try to find a way around that 75. Contact nearly made, but new race leader, Leighton Sabile at the point at Daytona.
And in this top 10, all or majority of the drivers, almost about half of them have started 30th or worse. It's been that type of race for these guys. Sabile gets stuck in the middle. Raja Caruth giving a push to pre-money. Preston Partis, it'll check up the outside.
No!
Busa there behind Colin Fern, and they'll go around to the back straightaway. Caution is out.
Raja Caruth involved, 3 or 4 cars in it. Brandon Brown winds up in the inside tire barrier. Leighton Sabile involved in it as well. They got 3 wide. They got just a little bit too aggressive coming off corner number 2, and that's all it took. It was the 43 coming up the racetrack. He was fine. It was the block that Colin Fern put on Matt Busa that got him out of shape. Credit to Landon Huffman and most of that inside line for avoiding it. Nowhere for Preston Partis to go. Nowhere for Sabile to go. Nowhere for Brandon Brown to go. And spinning around as well was Raja Caruth. He had no contact. Just was sliding that thing through the back straightaway grass. Hard hit to the inside wall for Sabile. The hood missing from that Chevy.
Yeah, Caruth went a little bit of landscaping, but that's about the worst that it got for him. Not too hard a contact right there. But you can see Matt Busa made that move to the outside. Fern went to block it, but I think Busa was there, and that initiated that contact. that could have been, again, a lot worse, starting with your top two. We know Fern has been aggressive. We know Matt Busa, he has nothing to lose. He's not running for a championship here in this season, so he's just kind of out here for the win, and that's about it. So it's no surprise to see Busa's been awfully aggressive to try to get to the front, and we are hearing the word from race control. It is going to be on Colin Fern, a driver, the 86, being posted, and is going to have to go to the end of the longest line.
That's going to be big for the 86 of Colin Fern. I think it's going to be issued after the pit stops are done, so Fern will hold the lead for just a couple more moments, but Fern now having to hit the reset button. It's my favorite part of the race, guys. You have a plan all adjusted, and you just throw the paper ball out the window into the trash can. You've got to do it all over again.
You're going to have to do it again. We'll take a little bit of a break here. We'll go side by side as you see drivers making the way to the service of their crews. We're on lap number 80, so 46 laps to go here in the Sunrise 500.
This is an Interstate battery. More pros trust this than any other out there. Yeah, more pros. More. Even more pros. Keep going. Moss. Look, we're gonna run out of time before we run out of pros who like Interstate. I mean, we'll run out of time before we even run out of left-handed pros who knit. These pros are everywhere, which means so is this battery. Right around the corner, up the street, everywhere. Interstate batteries, outrageously dependable.
Back with you here for the season opener of Season 5 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries, live from the World Center of Racing. Blake McCandless, Kenneth Bueno, Jacob Pitts on the call with you, Ryan Bauer down in the virtual production trailer as we have finally moved forward here with Season 5 of this Monday Night Racing Series. And guys, we're past the halfway point. I know we had a lot of hype coming into this race. We had a long off season, all of that. But I have to say, I think from the action that we've seen tonight, and we still have plenty to go. We still have over 40 laps left. I don't think the hype has disappointed. I think we've lived up to it.
Yeah, and I don't think the hype is going to end here. I think it's going to continue on through the next 45 laps. And by the time we get to that checkered flag, then it'll calm down, and then it'll rebuild back up next week when we head to Martinsville with the MX-5 Miatas. It's been an insane race so far from Daytona. We've seen a lot of crashes, a lot of big moves, and it's just the byproduct of this racing with this car. It's been intense, and these guys have put it all on the line. Got to give props for them trying to give their all here.
And, you know, Martinsville next week, like I mentioned, you think we've had a lot of pacing tonight, a lot of wrecks tonight? We'll just wait until next week, because I guarantee you it's not going to get any cleaner next week when you're cramming so many race cars onto the half-mile paperclip that is Martinsville. It's going to be tight. There's going to be beating, banging, wrecking, tempers, the whole 9 yards next week when we go to Martinsville.
And it's going to look a lot like the 24 Hours of Moon car, and I tell you what, it's pretty exciting as we take a look there at your Season 4 champion, and Adam Cabot, who, by the way, has the race lead at the moment. And you know, Cabot, a sim racer himself against a lot of industry members, but looking to go back-to-back, it's a tough thing to do. But boy, could he go a long way towards that tonight to help himself if he's able to win and cement his place in those playoffs already. We mentioned earlier, I think Jacob was saying it, nearly half of our season is the playoffs, so if you can get that win early on, it is certainly a big help. Adam Cabot, Parker Kligerman, your top two. The Food Country USA Chevrolet, they're on the outside. A pair of Chevys on the front row. DJ Cummings, who has seen some better days, but missing a rear clip, but doesn't matter on that race car. He's still trying to go for the race lead as they work towards turn one. They'll be 2 by 2.
And it was practically perfect out of the inside and outside lane. No big worries there from any drivers, mostly throughout the top 10 or top 15. It's not a push to the 17 from the 10 of DJ Cummings. It'll in fact be on the very top. Gary Sexton all tucked up on the back bumper of Parker Kligerman. That'll edge him out for the race lead.
Here they come down the back straightaway, and it's still too wide all the way through, shuffling throughout. Parker Kligerman and Gary Sexton on the outside line. The reigning champ, Adam Cabot, down on the inside, trying to pull DJ Cummings. He was upside down earlier. He's in second on the bottom.
I think as the sun has come up, that inside line starting to get a little more competitive. We'll continue to touch on that, but I think the longer we've gone in this race, the more the sun comes up and warms up that track. Inside line has been competitive. Cabot going for the lead.
It's been a flippable switch, guys, in terms of that inside lane, because early in the race we saw them be good, but not good enough, and now they're forming a formidable charge to carry the race lead and maybe dominate it in the final stretch. Cabot clears with Cummings behind and leaves Vargas lonesome down low.
Vargas now with a push from the 75, the 075, that's Landon Huffman, and look out, it's Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the Filter Time 88 machine. He's made his way to the front, third on the inside line, trying to push Vargas to the front.
Well, and he has a friend in front of him in Landon Huffman. We'll see what they can try to do with Ryan Vargas, also a buddy of his as well. Can they try to get this inside lane to work? It looks like for the moment Cabot going to have the advantage, but Huffman, a tandem there for Ryan Vargas. He'll shove him out front.
And that's all you need, guys, to get that inside lane working, is just at least stay on the quarter panel of the leader on the outside, because if they clear you, they can end up still there with a couple of cars to have a margin to. Vargas will slide up high in the banking. It'll give the inside lead to Landon Huffman. Huffman will try to do something going into turn 3.
Earnhardt almost got shuffled out of the deck. Rajah Caruth peeked to the inside and then got back in line. Landon Huffman now leads the bottom with help from Earnhardt Jr., Rajah Caruth, and the 50 of Gabe Wood. It's all Ryan Vargas, though, leading the outside off 4.
Well, and anybody that has used the inside lane to get to the lead, they have gone right to the outside as soon as humanly possible. Ryan Vargas to the point here at Daytona. Adam Cabot with him. Now Landon Huffman, Dale Earnhardt Jr., they'll lead the inside.
We'll see what Dale Earnhardt Jr. could do as Cabot will slide down low. He would ditch the number 6 Swan Security Chevrolet of Vargas to leave room up top. DJ Cummings will fill the gap. Adam Cabot back to the race lead out of turn 2. He'll slide up high.
Oh, trouble!
Down low. There's a crash.
Stephen Ellis around, David Schildhouse, Brent Baldeck, the 29 James Bickford piles in. 5-6 cars around. It all got started when Stephen Ellis got turned. Brian Boris Cook is involved. Still damaged. Mike Clay is parked against the outside wall. The caution's out once again, and it's the back straightaway is just cursed here. I think every caution has come either coming off 2 all the way to the exit of turn 4. This time Stephen Ellis gets turned around. He got the wall and then got clipped by David Schildhouse, and it was on from there.
See it one more time here. You're going to see Ellis scrape that outside retaining wall, makes contact with David Schildhouse. And it is on after that. A lot of cars nowhere to go. Brett Baldeck gets spun around. You mentioned David Schildhouse gets involved in that as well. Nick Olson, big damage on the pink machine. That is Stephen Ellis, the originator of that. James Bickford. Leighton Sabile piles in. Lots of cars. A very nice job there by Shane Van Gisbergen to get by that incident. I think he'd have a nice little onboard shot right there. 88's parked on the outside. The 88 of Mike Clay that you mentioned, not the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr., but Bickford sliding through, trying to get by. Just can't quite make it through.
It's unfortunate. The second time that Bickford has been involved in a big crash on the back straightaway. The first one, he was kick flipping over the field. This time, keeps all 4 wheels on the ground, but still gets damage on the very front end of the race car. And I got to note, guys, that's a big hit for David Schildhouse, because he was on track to keep this race going and hold in the final at least 40-odd laps or so without using a fast repair. This hit, this caution in particular, may be the trigger point here for Schildhouse to use it and to get a clean Chevrolet Camaro to the end. And it'll hurt his chances if he gets into another one in the next 40 laps.
I think Schildhouse was hoping to use that fast repair in his back pocket. Doesn't appear like he may be able to do so. I wonder if he'll continue limping around, or if he's going to try to keep that in his back pocket, or if he's going to elect to take it now. 40 laps to go. I think there's a good argument there that you still want to try to keep it if at all humanly possible. It will be Stephen Ellis who, after that caution, will be given a 1X and will be put to the tail end of the field, being deemed the cause of that incident. By the way, BOOSTED.BIZ builds a custom platform for your brand to sell your products. They take care of everything. Pay nothing and let us handle the rest. To get started with your online store, visit BOOSTED.BIZ today. Again, that is BOOSTED.BIZ to boost your brand for free. Pacing around under the caution flag, I've lost count, guys, of how many cautions we've seen tonight, and I don't think we're necessarily on the last one just yet. We are under 40 laps to go, at least for the scheduled distance for this Sunrise 500K, of which it is 312.5 miles here at Daytona. It's a long race of attrition here at Daytona, and as the sun continues to come up, hence the name Sunrise 500, the action continues to pick up, and we're starting to see some new names at the front of the field that we haven't quite seen. I know DJ Cummings was a driver who has kind of overcome a lot to get to the top 5. How about Gabe Wood? We haven't really talked about him too much tonight. And several drivers who kind of just been hanging around, biding their time, that look like they could be contenders late in this one, hopefully missing some incidents.
Got Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the top 3 here for the restart. This is something here, guys. We've got Landon Huffman, Cabot the champion, Earnhardt Jr. We know how many times he's won here at Daytona. Rajah Caruth, DJ Cummings, your top 5. How many big names do we got here? TJ Majors in the top 10 with Gary Sexton. You've got 2/3 of the JD Motorsports guys, Vargas and Gabe Wood. Plus that Parker Kligerman guy who's busy as all get out, running in that 6th spot.
Yeah, and that's the thing, when you say busy as all get out, a number of drivers today and competitors obviously coming over. Some of them were at Dover today. So, you know, shout out to some of these guys like TJ Majors, who were in Dover today because of the rain delay. They were able to still make it. Now, there were a number of drivers and personalities, you know, Josh Balicki being a couple that were supposed to start tonight, but obviously couldn't with the scheduled conflicts with the NASCAR Cup Series being rained out and being pushed to noon today at Dover. We had several drivers who weren't able to make their way out. But again, shout out to a number of these folks who were in Dover today. Whether they found a rig or they were able to get all the way back home, they were able to make it for the Season 5 opener from the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. So shout out to all of them who were able to make this work, and a couple of them are up front right now. As you mentioned, Landon Huffman now will resume the race lead. He'll have Adam Cabot to his outside. Then you have Dale Earnhardt Jr., Rajah Caruth, and DJ Cummings, as well as Parker Kligerman, your top 6 for the moment. Lights are off, pace car is in. Into the restart zone is that 75 of Landon Huffman. Good jump for him. Better jump for the outside line, one could argue, as Cabot looks like he'll draw even with Landon Huffman. They'll work to about 150 miles an hour. Huffman trying to hold strong on the bottom.
Looked like Hoffman and Earnhardt Jr. there wiggled a bit coming into turn 1, but fortunately they keep it straight. It's a huge shot from the 13 of Caruth to the 17 of Cabot. Maybe this could work off the 31 degrees of banking, but for now, Huffman staying even.
Here they come down the back straightaway. Huffman dropping back on this inside line. The top 3 on the outside line are clear. The top 4 on the outside line are clear. Now the top 5, TJ Majors in that 6, Castro Ford. He drops to the bottom. Here comes Parker Kligerman. He'll drop down there as well. He'll lead the bottom off turn 4.
Parker Kligerman will drag them along as he's got some help behind him. TJ Majors going to try to help that effort. They're on the inside line. Cabot, Caruth, your top 2. Now Kligerman and Majors will get their own tandem forming at the bottom of the racetrack, and they got quite a run towards turn 1.
And you can't express enough how solid the 75 of Kligerman has been at switching lanes. He's been one of the most efficient, deciding whether to go high or whether to go low. He's been sort of the pioneer of that all night long in this Sunrise 500. This time a different guy behind him to help TJ Majors will give him the race lead for a moment.
Rajah Caruth will push Adam Cabot out in front, and now here comes Raj to the inside, side by side for the lead. A little bit of side draft, and now side draft the other way. Cabot has to go up the hill. They'll be side by side. Coming off corner number 4, Cabot with the advantage.
And nowhere for Parker Kligerman to go as Caruth got virtually stopped by the side draft of Adam Cabot. Out of shape behind him is Dale Earnhardt Jr., but he'll stay in line. They sort it out. But up front, that top side working with Adam Cabot and Gabe Wood now in second.
And how about Minneapolis native Dakota Curtis in the 45, started 30th in this race, and now the Toyota Camry is up into the top 5. So a miraculous run by this driver right now, up to 3rd there on the outside single file.
Ryan Vargas almost put Brandon Brown into the bleachers on the front straightaway. That got very close. Vargas was 3 wide, tried to fit in line, and he chopped the nose off the 12. Everybody was able to keep it straight. Now here comes Gabe Wood to the inside for the lead. Matt Stolnick up the middle, 3 wide for 3rd. He's going to move Steven Ellis all the way in trouble. Cabin into the wall. It's the huge one off turn 4. One car hard into the inside wall. That's TJ Majors. Half the field, maybe more, all piled up coming off corner number 4.
And that all started as Matt Stolnick made a 3 wide move, but honestly, I think you could say that originated up front with a tandem for the race lead as Raja Caruth was trying to give it everything to push that 50 out front, and it looks like just got a little bit off center with Gabe Wood, got him a little out of shape. That sent Wood up into the 17, and the field had nowhere to go. You see right there up front, it starts with contact between that 13 and that 50 car.
And in the duels broadcast just 1 week ago, guys, we mentioned the linkage between the curved rear bumpers on this NASCAR Next Gen car and the pointy front bumpers of the Chevrolet Camaro. It misaligned at the worst possible moment as they were coming off the corner. Gabe Wood got sent up high. Obviously, nothing he could do to avoid hitting the 17 of Cabot and slid down in front of the 13. Kligerman stacks up, and then they all travel directly to the inside safer barrier. But there's still a whole host of more drivers to get involved on the very outside. Brandon Brown among a few to name. There's a look at Gabe Wood. It looked like Colin Fern also went for a spin. Dakota Curtis, who was at one point P3 in this run. DJ Cummings. There's David Schildhaus locked up against the outside safer barrier. It's just a horrific crash, and it could officially send the dagger to a majority of the field to be out of the Sunrise 500.
A long list of cars rather that are going to be behind the wall trying to fix some of that. A lot of decisions to be had in regards to fast repairs. We're probably right at the edge of that fuel window. Of course, that 80% fuel tank, it's 16 gallons rather than the 20 that are possible here in this fuel tank. So we may be right on the edge of making it on fuel here, stopping with 35 laps to go, around 35 laps to go. So that could be interesting as well. And another point that I want to make here, guys, that this has been a new rule to the Monday Night Racing series this season is the incident count limit. So what it is it is a total of incidents that is deemed cause. Race control at any point can deem a driver a cause of an incident. We're just getting word that Raja Caruth was tabbed with this latest caution, but several drivers have already had 1 strike against them. You get 12 strikes for the whole year, and guess what? If you reach that 12 marker, you're done. Zip, nada, you're out for the rest of the season. So when we look at Daytona right here and we talk about the number of favorite drivers who are out here, you think about Colin Fern, somebody who was awfully competitive in that Championship 4 last season. Somebody like Raja Caruth, who, if he had been in that Championship 4, he would have won last year because he won that penultimate race at Auto Club to end the season last year. So these incidents are going to stack up, and I know we have a long season. It's a long way to go. Your first incident is a long way from 12, but at a certain point, you have to hope that you don't rack up that early because that's going to change your driving style and everything about how you approach the second half of the season.
I'm sorry, Blake. I was trying to listen to Josh Mendoza. He came over the radio and said something and wanted to hear exactly what he said, and what he basically told the guys is, please, whatever you ate before the race, don't do it ever again because you guys are driving like crazy. There is a lot of race left, and pretty soon there are going to be not a lot of cars left. Just relax. And this is the problem. We're in crunch time now, so everybody is going to be more aggressive and push for the front. That's the problem with starting so chaotic out of the gate. You get to the end of this deal, and then just nothing changes. It's just full 10 all the time, screaming into the void for 125 laps instead of gradually building your way up to it and then dropping down after the checker flag is over. Nope, just full 10, screaming the whole way.
And again, I know, is this an omen for perhaps what, I mean, we're going to the MX-5s at Martinsville. If you think we're going to calm down, I don't know if that's going to be a better combination to go to Pro 2 lights at Watkins Glen. I mean, I think this is just building us up for what we might see a lot here in Season 5.
Yeah, I figured that the Pro 2 lights at Watkins Glen isn't going to pose too big of an issue when it comes down to cautions or incidents. That usually poses as one of the cleaner races on the road course. You see a lot of great strategy there, but I mean, like we said it at the top of the show in the pre-race when we were talking about the schedule, 2 of those 3, or a majority of those, were all-star candidates last season, and they're wacky races in their own right. Texas to the Radicals, Martinsville to the MX-5s. It's going to be a wild ride for sure.
It certainly is. And by the way, I think in 30 minutes, Moon Car's going up, so we want to make sure we can make that. But nevertheless, it looks like lights are good. We were just about to merge the pace car off. We were going to delay the green, so I think a couple of drivers looking to try to catch back up to the back of the field will delay this green one more time. You see one taker there to pit road to try to take advantage of that, and as well as a couple more come down. Malik Ray, Will Rogers will make their way down to pit road. So we'll come around this time. It will be 30 laps to go, 30 to go when we take the green flag. And for many drivers who race regularly on the service, this is essentially an A-fix race at this point. I mean, 30, 40 laps, that's about as long as you'd get for an official fixed race on the service. So I think you're looking here at about what most of these drivers were used to, and kind of, if you want a full send or what have you to the end, this is kind of the length of race that most of these drivers are more than likely accustomed to.
They can see the light at the end of the tunnel, Blake, and I have a feeling that just means that we're going to keep wadding up race cars. So keep the pace car running, keep it warm, because it's going to see a lot of action here the rest of the way, I'm afraid. And I'm going to check in with our top-rated, top-ranked super speedway driver, Justin Melillo. Well, he's been involved in a couple, not of his own fault. The front clip is gone on that thing, so if that can draft any sort of good in this lead pack, maybe he's got a chance. Or if they keep wrecking like this, he may be one of the cleaner cars out there, so you never know.
Well, and again, you have to wonder, does he have that fast repair? Into many of the drivers who are damaged on track right now, they still have that fast repair. That's why they're damaged.
He does still have it. A number of these guys do, up at the front at least, who still has it. Ryan Vargas, Gary Sexton, Matt Busa, he still has his. Dale Earnhardt Jr. as well. And let's see, Mark Rebellis and Justin Melillo in the top 20.
There you go. So a number of fast repairs still left. But up front, it is Gary Sexton, Ryan Vargas now, your top 2. Green flag is out, and quickly, very quickly, Sexton will go to the top side. Busa left all by his lonesome there on the inside line.
Yeah, Sexton did a smart job to understand the inside line on that restart. Wasn't really going to go anywhere in turn 1. And look at this, now 3 wide. Matt Stolnick stuck to the middle with Dale Earnhardt Jr. being the Pied Piper down low. Out of turn 2, could it be enough to get to the 1? We'll find out as they head down the super stretch to turn 3.
Well,
he got squirrely. Oh my goodness, that was very, very close. Sorry, Blake, but they're going to be able to make it work. Dale Earnhardt Jr. keeps it on going. He's got Parker Kligerman right behind him, but that's pretty much it on the inside line. Brian Boris Cook is there, but that front end is demolished.
Well, trying to work as well as the top 2 can. They're doing a nice job, but eventually they need more numbers down there to try to make it work, and perhaps they might get one out of the 2 of Robbie Lyons. Vargas goes low to block Robbie Lyons. Sexton will go to the low side, so all of a sudden everybody moves down to the inside.
That was a huge block by Ryan Vargas. Somehow, Robbie Lyons gave him some slack, and Ernest said, all right, I'll let you go for now. Sexton swerves up high, and it'll give space for Vargas to contend for the lead down low with the Floridian behind the push.
Here they come down the back straightaway, as antsy as ever. Ryan Vargas leads the inside line with Robbie Lyons to help. It's Gary Sexton up high with help from George Belfons Jr. Here they come through NASCAR 3 and 4. Ryan Vargas, Robbie Lyons, they're clear.
They're clear to get to the top, and they will do so. Now you have a tandem of NASCAR and NBC personalities on the bottom. Dale Earnhardt Jr. with Parker Kligerman trying to go to the race lead. Vargas will go low, thinks better about it. Here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr. looking for the point here at Daytona.
Earnhardt Jr. to the inside, and Dale Jr. will lead the Sunrise 500 on lap 98 of 125. We'll see if Parker Kligerman and company behind do anything to get out of line and give support to the top, but Dale Jr. clear all the way for the lead down low.
The virtual fans losing their mind down the back straightaway. It's all Dale Earnhardt Jr. out in front. Parker Kligerman stays glued to the back bumper of that filter time Chevy. Now he peeks to the outside. There's no help. Brandon Brown leads the outside line there. 4 car lengths back off turn 4.
Well, and they did such a good job that those top 3, Earnhardt, Kligerman, and Cook, going to be able to slot in line and pull that outside along. And we've seen it time and time again, that 88 up front at Daytona. Everybody wants to work with a fast race car.
And the inside line now starting to dramatically fall off, and Kennan is leading that group just because he doesn't have a front clip. He could be good as a pusher, but he's not necessarily effective up at the front, leading in clean air. So the inside lane falling out, outside lane the dominant one to be in right now.
We'll see if anybody decides to drop to the bottom side and try and get by Earnhardt, but no, everybody will just stay right in line. Meanwhile, further back, you had about 16 cars fighting for the same half-inch of real estate a half lap ago. They've sorted out for the time being. Matt Stolnick now leads the bottom. He's side by side for 10th.
And only about 3 or 4 cars trying to duck out of line, and I think I heard a call a little bit earlier from Parker Kligerman saying to Dale, I'm going to stick with you. So no surprise to see these 2 who will go, and you get about 2 or 3 cars committed to that front car. This is what's going to happen. It's going to get pretty strung out here at the front.
And if you're Parker Kligerman, why not stick with one of the better super speedway racers in NASCAR history in Dale Earnhardt Jr. If they stick together, it's probably going to help them fend off the multiple lines that may come out of it. Ryan Vargas has cleared way for the inside line lead, and he'll have, it looks like, Robbie Lyons to give assistance. Actually, Gary Sexton.
Here they come. Vargas, choo-choo, down on the bottom. Ready or not, here he comes. Gary gives him a big old push, and Earnhardt's going to stay glued up to the outside line as they come off corner number 4. Vargas side by side for the lead with Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Well, and I think that damaged Cook machine makes it a little bit tougher for those top 2 on the outside line to get going. Jr. going to go to the bottom of the racetrack, and he'll pull up in front of Ryan Vargas, and he'll think better of it. Now goes to the top. So Jr. playing the lanes here at the front at Daytona.
And we've seen this multiple times already where the guys try to fend the charge down low, and then once that stalls out, the guys on the outside start to get a run, so they go up top, and then they lose the race lead as a result. And it happened to Vargas about 2 laps ago. Now this time, he's in control of the race inside line, swerving everywhere.
Holy cow, look at the move Earnhardt just made. He drops to the bottom with Parker Kligerman and takes the lead back from Ryan Vargas. They are 3 wide behind. Matt Stolnick gets squirrely. They're almost 4 wide back there in trouble. Almost, they saved it. I can't believe it.
They are bouncing off each other 3 and 4 wide, but meanwhile up front and pulling away is a 2-car tandem in Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Parker Kligerman, who are able to escape. But Kenneth Bueno, I think this is too big of a lead for your top 2.
And it's going to be dangerous, especially if Vargas can get a company behind him. But the problem is Vargas, behind him is Brian Boris Cook, who's got an AL Toyota Camry with help from Matt Stolnick. Here comes Stolnick down low on the bottom of turns 2. Anthony Alfredo back in into ditch, but it's the top 3 contend up front.
It just splintered this lead pack apart. Now here comes Gary Sexton, 3 wide, further back in this secondary lead pack. Nick Olson goes with him. That leaves Stolnick in the middle. Here comes that outside line. Brian Boris Cook, he's got to run. He's not going to have anywhere to go off turn 4.
And that outside line pushing great. You remember Parker Kligerman got a little bit of a gift from Zane Smith all the way back to the season opener at the Camping World Truck Series at Daytona. Pushing great there, pushing great now. Earnhardt, Kligerman, Vargas, your top 3.
And if you got to look through the field in the Sunrise 500, guys, about who's the best driver in terms of making friends here at Daytona, it's got to be that 75 of Parker Kligerman. He's worked well with practically anyone in this field, and now going to stick with the 88. Everybody single file, first about through 16th.
Inside 25 laps to go as they come down the back straightaway. The top 4 breaking away. A little bit of a gap, about a car length and a half, and then there's Anthony Alfredo in that 23 trying to pull this outside line along, but it's all Dale Jr., the Pied Piper, round the outside off turn 4.
He'll lead him off the banking of turn number 4.
Trouble, Gary Sexton's around on the apron, coming off turn number 4. He was down on the apron. He's spinning it out on the apron. He got loose all by himself, and boy, that thing just snapped on him in the middle of the corner. He was at the tail end of that lead pack, spins it down to the apron, gets it back rolling. There is no caution. Trouble for Gary Sexton at the back of the lead pack.
And you'll see it one more time here on the replay. You can see all by his lonesome trying to get back in the line on the top, and not exactly sure what happened there, but Gary Sexton able to save it. That may have been to his own misfortune, as now we stay green. Single car incident on the bottom, and we'll pick it back up off of turn number 4. It's still Earnhardt, Kligerman, Vargas, your top 3. Then you have Boris Cook, who's hung on to your top 3. Anthony Alfredo, Brandon Brown, George Ballfans Jr. has hung on to this lead pack. Preston Pardis, Matt Busa, and Landon Huffman right now, your top 10, all single file behind that 88.
I know I posed it before, but maybe, just maybe, with 21 to go, this could be the single file train to just log laps until it is go time, because you can choose your move now, make something happen dramatically, but you could easily have it get torn away from you in a matter of moments. So we'll just see what happens. Everybody's still single file.
And this second pack, it's being led by, let's see, Rajat Karuth, David Schildhouse, and DJ Cummings. They cannot quite get there. They're catching up a little bit, and then they're dropping back a little bit. The gap's about 2 seconds between Rajat Karuth and the back of this lead pack.
Well, a lot of chatter over the radio going on right now around that Rajat Karuth machine, but, got to give a shout right now, I think, to Brian Cook, riding along there in 4th, the chief digital officer for Joe Gibbs Racing, doing an awesome job keeping up despite missing that front flip, still running in the 4th position.
What's great about these cars, and especially in this sim, as Vargas taps the outside wall quickly there in the middle of 1 and 2, is that you can have a car that looks like this, and it could still be relatively fast as long as you're not leading a line of cars. It's been the problem we saw with Max Kennan earlier on, but big props to Boris Cook for staying in this game this late.
And it reminds me of Carl Edwards in the 2016 Daytona 500 when he was in line with his teammates. Yeah, he couldn't pull out the line and make a move to try and win the 500, but he could be right in line and push his teammates around and get them close to a win.
Able to do just that, and we'll see how, if this second pack can get caught. They are starting to make up ground. Rajat Karuth leading this second line, and they are starting to make up some ground, about 0.6 of a second. So we may have about 20 cars in this lead pack before too long.
And guess what, guys? This reminds me of earlier in this race when Matt Busta was leading a second pack, charging to the guys up front, and it only took them a couple laps to close in the gap and get into this game. Only difference is the front pack is not double file, they're all single, so the second pack comes up. What happens next?
Well, the second pack is closing. Rajat Karuth is about a second behind Nick Olson, who is the caboose of this lead pack. So they are closing quickly. Actually, you got to keep in mind Malik Reyes there. He is multiple laps down, but he is pulling them around. He's 3 laps down, but he's leading this second pack.
Well, and again, trying to provide as much aid or help to Rajat Karuth as I'm sure is possible, since at least running for the race lead from 3 laps down, not exactly going to work out for him, but having a friend can certainly help, as Karuth and Ray doing work to catch this lead pack.
And that was interesting. Going into turn 1, Karuth made a signal saying 3, 2, 1, and the entire second line went from the very top to the very bottom. They're playing some strategy here to pick up on this front pack.
And it is working. The gap is now just 0.9 of a second, and they are still closing it in. They were about 0.2 faster that last time around. They're going bottom in the corner and then tops on the straightaway. They're closing in on this lead pack.
Well, and how much longer is the question. I think we can clearly see that they are going to catch this lead pack, but what happens? When do they make a move? If they try to catch them, they have a huge head of steam, as now they're going to go 2 wide up front.
Here's the problem. It's going to lose them more time. Landon Huffman with help from Matt Stonick, Robbie Lyons, and Nick Olson. They're going to try to man a 5-car charge on the very bottom. We'll see if anyone else joins them. Here comes Alfredo down low out of turn 2.
Here they come down the back straightaway. Alfredo leads that bottom line. Ryan Vargas pulls out of line. He's going to go down there and throw a big block on Alfredo. They are 4 wide. Landon Huffman's in the wall. Brandon Brown is around. Robbie Lyons is involved. Nick Olson is involved. Rajat Karuth flies through the grass and is able to avoid it. Everybody else is on the binders and does an incredible job missing the crash that all started with contact from Landon Huffman. They got bottled up. They got 4 wide. It was Brandon Brown and Landon Huffman that kicked off that crash.
They're racing hard back there. They were trying to get that inside lane formed up. You take a look here at that 75, or at least one of the 75s out here, and I think when that stack up happened, you saw Vargas go low. They were kind of a scattered 4 wide, as you mentioned, Jacob, and when they were, you just ran out of real estate entering turn 3. You had Alfredo, who was kind of a part of that line. You had the 42 of Preston Pardis. Brandon Brown was there and wasn't quite all the way on the wall, so that's hard to put it on any one driver. I think it's just a stack up, and some drivers go some different directions and a little bit of disagreement over real estate, but I guess as much of a racing deal as any, that was definitely a racing deal.
Yeah, and I don't believe that Huffman had any intent to just make it 4 wide naturally and try to build up a run of his own, because he had help from Stonick, but Stonick wasn't going to go up there. I figure it was just trying to avoid Preston Pardis, who had slowed down dramatically because of the inside lane checking up, and unfortunately caught Brandon Brown at the worst moment possible and sent a couple of cars around. Miraculously slow. That second pack just stayed where they were. Selnem dodged down low, and they were able to clear the 075 of Huffman without hitting him whatsoever. So a perfect job by that second pack to get out of harm's way.
A great job indeed, as that was the longest green flag run that we had had up till this point. It was nearly about 20 laps long that we had during the course of that run. A run that was led by, and I know we had a couple people out there in the chat kind of mentioning this, was several real-life contenders up at the front. I know we get a mix of everybody up here. We get sim racers, we get real-life racers, but at least for that run, and what many could argue was the cleanest run of the night, it was kind of the real-life drivers showing the way up here.
Was that really the longest green flag run of the night? I thought we at least got closer than that earlier. Oh my gosh. Man, and of course, this sets us up for a restart now, inside 15 laps to go. So you know what that means. Cautions breed cautions. We have 3 green-white checkers. I'm just throwing it out there, guys.
Thanks. Thanks for reminding us, Jacob.
Just in case you forgot, it's been a long night.
I may have bypassed our stats person when saying that was the longest green flag run, because it felt like it, and you know, if it wasn't exactly correct, I think we can maybe get a pass on that. You see a number of drivers getting a wave around who were thrilled that caution did come out. Drivers like Justin Malillo, Gabe Wood, who had damaged race cars, were not able to stay up with the lead pack. We're relying on a yellow flag to save that fast repair for a certain point. They're able to do just that. And now they will get back on the lead lap and continue rolling, because you had really about 22, 23 cars that were on pace or keeping up in the lead pack. One of those 2 packs, there were 23 cars that were doing that. And there's about 35, I would say there's still, 36 cars that are still rolling on the racetrack. Out of our 45 starters tonight, these are the drivers who are behind the wall. Presley Sora, TJ Majors is 16 laps down, but has come back out onto the racetrack. So TJ Majors a long ways behind, but rolling along there in 38th position. Shane Van Gisbergen is 39th, 18 laps down. He's behind the wall. Leighton Sabile, Mike Clay, Dakota Curtis, Ruben Garcia, Connor Daly, and our first exit was Bernard Pollard 80 laps ago. So the sun's starting to rise and the tension starting to build here at the World Center of Racing. The lights are off on the pace car this time. So only one more trip around. It looks like we will get the restart with 13 circuits left. But of course, like Jacob mentioned, scheduled distance.
Yes, of course. We may go easily over that. And Jacob, I really hope that by the time this race is over, I don't end up having to tweet #BlameHits for any jinxes that we did at the end of this race. But, I mean, we've been at Daytona, and hey, Blake, you covered the Thursday Night Thunder, and that race had to go into green-white checkered territory. They could hardly get to the green flag and make a couple laps without ending up in an incident because everybody wants to be so aggressive. I hope that we don't end up seeing that here in this Sunrise 500, that we can get a cleaner but still crazy restart all the way to the finish. But who knows? Daytona, these super speedway races are so unpredictable. You can put something out in the universe and then it could just slap you right in the face and tell you no.
Just call me Evan Pasoko.
Well, there's only one of us that can do the voice, at least for that. As lights will turn off on the pace car. My goodness, I just really did that. As up front, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Parker Kligerman, your top 2, Ryan Vargas, and Brian Cook hanging on to your top 4 spots. 13 laps to go here at the World Center of Racing. A little bit of a stack up there on the bottom side, but Vargas will suck right up to the back of that Filter Time Chevrolet. and they are stacked up, forming up really well here as they'll chase Parker Kligerman, who has a nose out front into turn 1.
And what I've noticed is that the past couple of restarts, especially in the latter half of this Sunrise 500, they've been more even, inside, outside. Prominently in the beginning of the race, we saw the outside line really be the best, the inside struggle, but now we're seeing more equality out of both lanes. Some guys shuffling around, but it's still Kligerman versus Dale Jr. for the lead.
Admins reminding these drivers that if you cause a second incident in this race, you're parked for the race. How about Dale Earnhardt Jr. getting pushed back out to the front by Ryan Vargas? He goes to the outside. Now he's hung in the middle. Vargas gets sideways. He hangs on. It's all Kligerman around the outside.
And I tell you what, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was going to be put in the sucker hole, but got help from Cook and the fact that Vargas lost it on the inside. Now they'll flip that NASCAR and NBC tandem at the front. It is Parker Kligerman now being pushed by Dale Earnhardt Jr. And how about Preston Pardis now leading that outside line at a 1.
It's P-Money up at the top of the 31 degrees of banking, and this shows us somewhat leaving where he left off in the LCQ 1 week ago. Remember, he was fighting for his transfer life to get into this Sunrise 500, was trying to be as aggressive as ever to hold the lane and get some people with him. He's got him now.
Preston Pardis up on the outside line with George Balfonte Jr., but the NBC duo of Kligerman and Earnhardt are clear on the outside, and they jump to the outside line. Now Ryan Vargas leads downstairs. He's got help from Anthony Alfredo.
He's got help from Alfredo, Caruth, and now DJ Cummings there on the inside. It's Kligerman, Earnhardt, Pardis, and George Balfonte Jr. Nice recovery drive from him, as well as Dylan Welch and Brad Perez hanging on to your top 10.
Saw one car hit the outside wall out of turn 4, but luckily we will stay green with 11 laps left. There are only 3 cars tucked nose to tail. Vargas, Alfredo, Caruth now bringing it forward. DJ Cummings, they're holding strong versus the numbers up top. Vargas to the race lead.
Here they come down the back straightaway. Ryan Vargas is clear. Here's Alfredo. He's got a run from Caruth. He is side by side with Vargas for the race lead. Here they come through 3 and 4. Anthony Alfredo, he's out in front. He's clear off 4.
How many times are we going to see someone lead the bottom, guys, and then jump to the top? I just feel like you go to the top and then you open up the door for that bottom. That bottom has worked so much better as the sun has come up. Alfredo leads the top now. Raja Caruth leading the bottom. Here comes Vargas.
Vargas down low again. He'll have the 13 of Caruth to give assistance. Kligerman will tuck to the back bumper of the 23 Chevrolet Camaro to maybe give him a push out of turn 2. Caruth now splices the middle, almost about chopped the nose of the 10 of DJ Cummings on the super stretch.
That was scary, and it shuffled this inside line. Matt Stolnick gets shuffled out of the deck. He drops to the middle, down to the high side. Gary Sexton, he's back in this deal after that single car spin earlier on. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is peeking down to the inside. He drops downstairs. He'll lead the bottom. Alfredo leads the top.
And oh, by the way, if you're wondering if there's a yellow line rule, the response is, what yellow line rule? There is no yellow line rule here at Daytona. 9 laps to go. Junior and now Kligerman going to lead him. Welch out of shape in the back of the pack. Saves it if he drives through pit road.
It will stay green with 9 laps remaining for the virtual Daytona International Speedway. And when we talk about the drivers up in front, I'm going to quote JID and said, it's a monopoly game. They're stealing the properties. Kligerman down low with Alfredo up top, still even for P1.
Down the back straightaway after the shuffling around, I thought for sure Dylan Welch was going to be visiting the infield and maybe make it all the way to Lake Lloyd, but instead he's able to keep it up to speed. He may have lost the lead draft, but he still has his race car. Parker Kligerman leads the inside line. He is clear of Alfredo. He'll stay downstairs. Junior not quite clear off 4.
Well, you can see that bottom line in better tandem right now. You got 3 drivers stacked right on top of each other. Kligerman, Earnhardt, and the 6 of Ryan Vargas. And give a nod to Steve Offont. He's also a part of this in your top 8 as they work to turn 1.
Yeah, we haven't talked much about the 11 car in the Toyota Camry really all night long, but again, in this race of attrition, anyone can pop out of the fold, and then we get these comeback stories out of nowhere. It is still door-to-door between the 2 bow ties up in front. Alfredo versus Kligerman. No convincing leader yet.
Sometimes you don't always need to be at the front of the field to be a contender late in the race. You just have to have the clean race car, and that's what Steve Offont has. Here comes Preston Pardis. He leads the bottom side. He's clear for the lead. Parker Kligerman is not quite clear. Now he is clear for second off 4.
Just got to the right rear to make that move, and it worked for Parker Kligerman into the tri-oval. He'll approach the stripe this time. 7 laps to go here at Daytona. Kligerman and Alfredo pushing there on the top side. A big run from that top lane.
P-Money trying to get the cash advance of $400 by the time the checkered flag waves, but now problem is he barely has help. Earnhardt Jr. and Vargas, the only two really giving support up front, chasing behind with Matt Stolnick, but just nothing they can do. Too many cars up top with Kligerman out front.
Keep in mind, Colin Fern is in this lead back. Wouldn't be surprised if he tries to ruffle some feathers late in the going. Here comes the run on the inside. Partis side by side for third. Partis side by side for second. He's right at the heels of Parker Kligerman. Can't quite get there off 4.
It'll be Kligerman, Alfredo, and don't take a nod right now, but George Ballfans Jr., he's usually sitting on the pit lane just across from where they cross right now, looking and wondering where his car's going to finish. He's got all control in the world. He rides in third behind Kligerman and Alfredo.
What's insane about Ballfans is he's the only Road to Glory entrant from last season that's in the top 10 right now in this Sunrise 500, but the focus remains now on Raja Caruth, who slides down low. Preston Partis going to try to give the help. Caruth all by his lonesome, getting left out to ditch.
That was a bold move by Raja Caruth, and it almost worked. Instead, it just single-handedly killed the inside line. But here it comes back. DJ Cummings drops to the bottom. Matt Stolnick there to help. Raja Caruth is 5-6 car lengths back. It's all Kligerman in the outside off 4.
And just like that, everybody out of shape and down to the bottom. That is Preston Partis, a move where he saves it. It looked like he wanted to go to the bottom as everyone shuffled to the top. They're 3 wide around the Caruth machine. Caruth underneath the yellow line, 3 wide into turn 1.
Caruth has no help, though. He's going to try to use the side draft to his advantage. 5 laps to go from the world center of racing. And now you have to imagine, with the inside line falling as far as it did, who's going to end up down there to be the pioneer? Is it Kligerman? Is it Alfredo? Is it Ballfans? Is it Fern? Who is it this time?
Colin Fern is in P number 4 and hungry as ever in that Xfinity machine. He is sitting in 4th on the outside line, and here he goes. Thought maybe he would go to the bottom. Instead, he stays tucked up right behind Belfons, coming to 4 to go.
Well, we haven't talked enough about this driver. He rides in P5. That is Brad Perez, who has done a wonderful job maintaining a little bit of damage on that 60 car, but he could be in prime position. He rides P5 as Kligerman will duck low into 1.
Maybe he can bring back the memories of the Radicals of Texas, the All-Star race in Season 3, where he inevitably went to victory lane in a super speedway style format. The Shine Chevrolet Camaro looking to glimmer here in the Daytona sun. Alfredo giving a push to Kligerman. Thought about a move down low, but not going to do it just yet.
Here comes Raja Caruth on the inside line. Preston Partis and Ryan Vargas giving him help. Now Colin Fern drops to the bottom now that he knows he's got some compadres down there on the bottom. And Colin Fern, he's going to sink like a rock and get eaten alive off 4.
Well, I was wondering if Caruth was going to make a move around, but it looks like the opportunity wasn't open, so Fern going to lose a couple of spots as now he free falls to the inside line. Just 3 laps to go here at Daytona.
Time is running out for the guys on the bottom side. Fern finds no help. They're trying to end something and in an establishment down low. They just can't do it because it continues to get wadded up as guys try different moves. And now it's the outside lane, the guys behind the 75 to make something happen. Caruth still holding hope down low.
How long can the leaders wait to make a move? Will they wait until the last lap on the back straightaway? Will they do it sooner? Will they only do it coming off corner number 4? Raja Caruth is going to keep trying. He leads the bottom side once again. It's all Parker Kligerman, top 5, clear up top.
The hourglass is running empty here at Daytona as they cross the stripe this time. 2 laps to go. When does the move come? It's Parker Kligerman, Anthony Alfredo, George Ballfans, your top 3. Who's going to duck out of line, and when are they going to do it?
They've got it in their back of their minds, though, that if they make a move now, the chances are that something could happen that takes them out of the race. You could make a move at this point on the back straightaway and then immediately get charged by other drivers on the final lap. Caruth now finds a couple of guys to help him. Caruth up to P4.
Here comes Raja Caruth. He's up to 3rd. He is flying with Steve Affan all over the back bumper. He's up to 2nd. Side by side between him and Anthony Alfredo. Now Kligerman, he drops to the bottom. Will he be able to get back up to the top? The outside starts to splinter. It's all Kligerman coming to the white flag.
At Food Country USA, Chevrolet going to have to be wide as they'll approach the white flag this time by. If they get to it, they'll see it through to the end. White flag in the air. One more trip around the Daytona International Speedway. Here comes Raja Caruth. They're 3 wide behind him.
Think about season 3 when Caruth was 4 wide as Stallman got the win in the season opener. He's going to look to gain some redemption. Fern with Partis down low on the inside of the double yellow line. Fern wiggles just a bit. Caruth by himself. Kligerman in the lead on the final lap.
Shuffling around, Brad Perez looks to the inside. Now here comes DJ Cummings with help from Matt Stallnick. They're shuffling 3 wide behind. DJ Cummings all by himself. It's all Parker Kligerman coming through turn 3. They're dicing for 5th on back, but Anthony Alfredo doesn't make the move. Here comes Belfons to the bottom of 4.
Kligerman having to block and make that car wide, and it looks like as they work to the stripe, Kligerman gets turned. Alfredo through the grass, and I think Anthony Alfredo by 14/1000ths of a second as they wreck across the line. Anthony Alfredo wins the Sunrise 500 presented by SimSeats in thrilling fashion. He'll cross the line, beating and banging with Parker Kligerman, and he holds on just long enough to get it done, cutting the grass.
Look at the margin. Alfredo catches Kligerman off his game, gets contact, and it looks here like ball fans could be the one to be clean out front, but Alfredo skirts through the grass, clears the touch by Kligerman, and that right there is the judgment day call. Perez slides up through the fence, and they all come into a shower of sparks. Smoke everywhere, but Alfredo is a winner.
I can't believe what we just saw. I mean, Anthony Alfredo, I feel like we've seen this movie before. We're just pulling out, trying to make the move, and then contact to the line. I think Alfredo, I just heard him talk about that he forgot if there was a yellow line rule or not. He went to go down on the bottom and then kind of sort of came back up and there was contact. But race officials have determined indeed it's final. Anthony Alfredo wins this race. So Josh Mendoza makes the call. It is official. Not going to be any dispute about this one. Alfredo with the win, and I mean a huge crash. Brad Perez up into the catch fence after the flag.
Yeah, Brad Perez into the catch fence, but did bring it home in third as you take a look at the full field rundown. Anthony Alfredo, spot in the playoffs confirmed as he goes to victory lane. George Ballfans Jr. oh so close when those top 2 tangled of bringing it home. Brad Perez almost had an opportunity. Finishes in the catch fence, but will finish in the 3rd position. Parker Kligerman in 4th, Matt Stallnick in 5th, Steve Affont in 6th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. fell back to the end of that lead pack. He can never really find the help he needed to get back up front. He brings it home in 7th. Ryan Vargas in 8th. Raja Caruth, you got to give a nod, or at least an A for effort for Caruth, who tried to lead that inside line, wrecked off of turn number 4 with a couple of others. He still brings it home in 9th. And Matt Busa, eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver, didn't quite work out for the eNASCAR bunch today. He brings it home in 10th.
Seminole, Florida's Robbie Lyons, Season 3 champion, could not get to victory lane in his hometown track, but still P11, solid effort for him. Gary Sexton had some shiny moments up at the front of the field, but he ends up P12 at the end of 125 laps. Dylan Welch was up and down through the field, but somehow survived for 13th, a solid recovery for the 14 car. Landon Huffman went through insane crashes and went through a lot of things as well to finish P14 in his 075 Chevrolet. Stephen Ellis in the 46 ended up closing off the top 15. It was pole sitter Colin Fern who came up short, tried to make an aggressive move near the end to go to the front, just could not find somebody, or really anybody, to get with him. He finishes P16. Case Colliback in the 84, didn't talk about him much all evening long, but the 84, after starting 25th, comes home 17th. P-Money Preston Partis was in that front pack at the end. He crashes to the start-finish line. He is 18th. DJ Cummings tried something on the back straightaway with Brad Perez and then got underneath, but he ends up good enough for 19th at the end of the checkered flag. And Mark Rebillis for Crypto Autosport in the 99 rounds out the top 20. Jacob Hitz.
Ford Martin finishes in 21st on the lead lap. Brandon Brown, he had an up and down day, finishing in 22nd. David Schildhouse couldn't really get himself up into the fray when he needed to. He finishes in 23rd. Brett Baldock, he had a good run at the front. He comes home in 24th, and everybody on back, their car was in a heap. By the time this thing was said and done, Nick Olson in 25th, James Bickford in 26th, Justin Malillo in 27th, Brian Boris Cook, the last car on the lead lap, in 28th, And then Ron Capps and Max Kennan rounding out our top 30.
31st will go to Will Rogers, wanted a caution late, but unfortunately he never got. Adam Cabot in 32nd, 2 laps down. Malik Ray, 33rd, the other end of that eNASCAR bunch. Charlie Brown finished in 34th tonight. 35th was Gabe Wood. Bailey Turner finished in 36th. TJ Majors was 26 laps down, finished in 37th. 38th to Presley Sora. 39th was Shane Van Gisbergen. And 40th was Leighton Sabile. Mike Clay, 41st. Dakota Curtis, 42nd. Connor Daly, 43rd. Bernard Pollard, 44th. And Ruben Garcia in 45th. But, guys, I think it's no clear. We have to talk to your race winner right now. Anthony Alfredo starts season 5 with a victory. Anthony, just walk us through that last lap. I know there was a lot going on there. Walk us through it.
All right, you got my camera, right? Am I making everyone spaz out right now because I'm moving it around so much? I'm just going to leave it here. All right, hang on one sec. There we go. We'll just leave it there for now. All right, can you please repeat the question?
All right, no, you're good, Anthony. I know a lot's going through your mind right now. Just take us through that last lap. You're behind Parker Kligerman. You're riding there in second. Just walk us through your movements and what you thought of the finish there.
Honestly, it was insane. I've lost a lot of Speedway Next Gen races from either being the leader because you're a sitting duck or being maybe a couple spots further back and making a move too early. You just got to protect the right side on this thing. So when the bottom made a run there, I was really tempted to go with it, but I had really good connection with Parker. I was able to push him really well, so I felt like I was in a good spot there, and I knew I didn't want to expose my right side to anybody, so I just tried to keep the engine cool so that I could lock onto him the last lap and get away from everyone, keep them all behind us, and be able to put myself in position to make a move at the end. So that's exactly what I did. I saw the 94 pull out below me, and he was damaged, and he didn't really get there, but I just didn't want anyone to drive around me, so I tried to wait till the very last second to pull out to Parker's left rear, and I side drafted him as hard as I could. I cut the wheel hard left, and then I kind of straightened it up, and I think he was expecting me to go all the way down, like maybe below the yellow, because we did not have a yellow line rule, but I was unsure about that. So I was trying to side draft him as hard as I could, and I think I accidentally got into him a little bit if we didn't just meet in the middle, but we barely won it. I think those other guys came across the line, and it was probably the closest finish in Monday Night Racing history, potentially. So just very thankful for the opportunity to come back for another season in this league. I love it so much. A lot of hard work's gone into it on the back end from you guys, Ford, the sponsors. Proud to have Interstate Batteries as a title sponsor. And then, of course, my first race with Pro Celerate on my Chevrolet Camaro, and we got the dub in probably the biggest race of the year. Season opener, big money race. Couldn't be happier right now. Very thankful.
All right, and one more thing before we let you go. Anthony, you are a winner and locked in to the Monday Night Racing playoffs. How does that feel to get that out of the way after the first race here at Daytona?
It's super relieving because 2 years ago I was leading the championship race by a straightaway and my computer broke, and I'm actually having PC issues as we speak, so thankfully I didn't have any tonight. But I remember last season I was so upset about the previous season. I wanted to go back and make it to the Final Four and have a shot at a championship, but I missed too many races just because of traveling and racing, and was in a must-win situation. And every time we were either leading on the last lap or put ourselves in position to win, something seemed to happen. So now to get that out of the gate in the beginning is great because now we could just kind of have fun the rest of the year. But I promise I'm not going to stop working hard. I'm going to try to win every race until the playoffs start and do the same through there so that we have a shot at a championship once again.
And you get to do that stress-free. Anthony Alfredo, your winner tonight of the Sunrise 500. Congratulations, Anthony.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Alfredo gets it done in dramatic fashion here, and we unfortunately had the flip side of that. Kenneth Bueno has caught up with George Balfans Jr. 14 one-thousandths of a second short. He finishes in second tonight.
Indeed, it was a super small margin for George Balfans in the 94, who comes up P2 here in the Sunrise 500 presented by SimSeats. But I think if there's one thing to note about your run tonight from the World Center of Racing is that it was a statement. You came in from the Road to Glory series from last season. This is really your first full-time effort in a full-time race here in the M&R Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. So how was that to put on a show and earn the respect of the guys around you?
Getting involved in something early on in the race and having to use a fast repair right off the bat was kind of a downer, but it put me in the mindset, all right, just run clean, try to run where I can, be clear of whatever. And I caught a lot of lucky breaks, and then I just decided to stay committed to the top the entire time in the last run. It worked good in the duels. It just, I mean, I don't know. That was really fun. It was really nerve-wracking. There's a lot of cautions, but it also meant a lot of bunched up racing. So that was a lot of fun.
Indeed, a lot of bunched up racing, and bunched up is probably a word you can describe all the way until out of turn 4, where everyone started going haywire, of course trying to make it to the start-finish line first. From your perspective, what was it like trying to hold on to your line and make sure that even if you didn't have the win in your hands, you could still be in position to get a good finish or a win?
Well, coming to 10 to go, 5 to go, my commitment to the outside was to just keep it rolling, try to stay as close to Alfredo as I could, because try to maximize our runs on the outside, minimize the runs on the inside. Because if they were able to clear us, somebody was going to come up, everyone was going to check up. With 3 to go, I was getting hot, so I had to back off a little bit, and so very last lap, I got it cooled down, got a really good run, and then I saw coming out of turn 4 on my screen, Alfredo hit the wall, and that's why I turned down on corner exit. And I think it's one of those hindsight's 2020, but if I stayed up to the top, I think it would have had enough momentum to that 14 1,000ths of a second would have been to the positive, not to the negative.
Well, of course, it's not the race win here tonight from Daytona, but it is a very, very gorgeous start to what is your first full-time season in this Monday Night Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. So now moving forward after Daytona, how do you plan to build up on it to continue to earn the respect of the competition around you while also trying to gain some race wins and go for the playoffs this year?
Well, I think a lot of this series comes down to being consistent. You may not win a race, or you may not be locked in from that sort of situation. I don't know what bonus points, if that has any implications or whatever, but running around guys, running clean, not running into them after wrecks and causing unnecessary incidents, I think that's my goal. A lot of the guys that run in this series are friends of mine, and I work with them, and I don't know. It's just a really good place to start. Points wise, we're good, so I'm not having to work as hard to move forward. So we'll try to figure that out.
I guess something you can hang over your former Road to Glory competition, Nick Olson, Presley Sword. You finished ahead of those guys in that respective camp, so I think that's something to take away. And also, Shenandoah Shine Cars, they come home 2-3. I think that's also a good thing for the sponsor and you guys holding those logos on your respective race cars. But George, on behalf of all of us here at Podium Esports, want to congratulate you on the second place finish here tonight in the Sunrise 500, and of course, wishing you the best of luck moving forward in this Monday Night Racing Pro Series season. Thank you for taking the time to talk with us.
Appreciate it, guys. Always a pleasure to watch the shows and see you guys do your work. I'll do a pretty smash up job.
It's George Ball Fans Jr. comes home just short of the race win, but no doubt a lot of optimism moving forward into what's going to be the rest of Season 5 in this MNR season. We'll kick it back to third, and I know I'm not going to be able to talk to the fellow Floridian who finishes in the top 3, but it's Jacob Hitz who's got Brad Perez alongside on pit road.
Brad Perez coming home in third place here in the Sunshine 500. Is there anything that you could have done there in those last, make it 5 laps, to maybe put yourself in Anthony Alfredo's position to come away with the win?
Man, absolutely not. I stuck with the plan. I said on this last restart, I was just going to stick with the top side, and then whatever happened, I don't care who was going to go where. I was just going to stay on the top side, and whatever happened, I was just going to stay there and see what happens. And everyone kept trying to make moves and make something happen, and my best move was doing absolutely nothing, which is usually par for the course on super speedways for me. And I figured if somebody takes themselves out coming out of 4, then I have a chance to win. And it's funny, this is exactly how my dual race went. And instead of finishing second, I finished third, so I'll take it.
Nonetheless, a good points night going into next week. An entirely different racetrack, an entirely different car, running the Miatas at Martinsville. Not really much you can carry over other than maybe avoiding wrecks from week to week, but certainly the momentum on your side.
Oh, absolutely, man. These Shenandoah Shine boys brought me such an awesome, good-looking piece. Luke Creative on the paint, absolutely beautiful. But thanks to Shenandoah Shine, Green Tech Energy, Mohawk Foundation, everyone who makes this thing look really nice on the racetrack. So thanks you guys Monday night for making it happen, Podium. And we'll go to Martinsville and hear a bunch of brap noises for 3 hours.
Well, congratulations on the top 3, Brad, and we'll see you next week.
All right, see y'all.
Brad Perez, your third place finisher tonight from Daytona. Blake.
Brad Perez bringing it home in third as Anthony Alfredo will get his 4th win in Monday Night Racing competition and lock himself into the playoffs for Season 5 to get things started. Well, guys, it's finally over. I know this was a long night, but I got to say, I think tonight we talked about the hype. We talked about everything that was going on. The whole race, we saw action, and that finish was just incredible. Again, I think Season 5 just off with a bang here to start the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries.
Definitely so, and I think I have to reset my clock because being in the early morning all the way to this, I'm not a morning person at all, so I'm going to have to reset my schedule. But, I mean, for real, though, interesting race and insane race. We had a lot of great moves, and there were a lot of lowlights, but there's a lot of highlights to bring out of this. I mean, George Ballfan's 2nd place finish, the finish at the end with Anthony Alfredo, the great moves, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Parker Kligerman, Matt Busa, Malik Ray, and Raja Caruth. There's just so many storylines you could take out of the World Center Racing to bring into the next one. And if you thought Martinsville by itself is chaotic in nature, it's going to be even wilder to know that it's the first time that MNR has ever been to the paperclip in series history. So, big question mark for next week, but I'm ready for it.
Yeah, certainly so, Jacob. I think Kenneth says all the right things, that running MX-5 Miatas at Martinsville is going to be a treat. And we'll also see a number of drivers who weren't able to make the field tonight. It was stout to get in here, and of course we ran through the whole duel process. So a number of Monday Night regulars who a lot of fans out there love to see weren't able to make it tonight, but I'm sure they'll be back and in the field when we get rolling to Martinsville next week.
And the field is just going to ebb and flow as time goes on. And just by the way, first time going to Martinsville, if they race like they did tonight, it might be the last time we go to Martinsville if we have too many cautions. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun next week. Tempers are certainly going to boil over. We may see some rekindled rivalries like Raja Caruth and Anthony Alfredo. We may see some new ones that carry us through the rest of the year. That's the fun of these short track races, though. They kind of just add something to the rest of the season that whatever happens at one racetrack could come back to bite you in 5 races down the line. You never know. We'll find out after next week.
Well, it's a long season. I think George said it best. Consistency is what matters, but of course, can't hurt to go out with the win like Anthony Alfredo did tonight. So, for Ford Martin and Paul Sutton at Monday Night Racing, Josh Mendoza on Race Control, and for Gary Sexton and John Theodore, Podium eSports, for our camera builder, Dougie Beard, overlays done by Michael Hall, for Cameron Abernon on social media, as well as for tonight's broadcast crew. Ryan Bauer down to the virtual production trailer, my colleagues in the booth, Kenneth Bueno and Jacob Hitz. I am Blake McCandless, saying so long tonight from the Daytona International Speedway. We thank you for watching the season opener for the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Interstate Batteries. We bid you farewell, and congratulations to Anthony Alfredo, your winner tonight in the Sunrise 500 presented by SimSeats. We'll see you next week for MX5s at Martinsville.